Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Fred, as a tennis pro, have you gotten behind the pickleball trend? No.
Hard no.
No. It's an abomination. I hate pickleball. Sucks.
I am planning tonight to hit up Elmo's and get a makeup steak.
Are you going solo?
I don't know. If I'll do whatever I got to do. I'm going to go stuff my fat face with a steak.
Any coffee shop incidents with media members threatening each
the
other
words out of
this
my
year?
mouth.
Anything like that going on? That was like the big story last year.
No, we're going to go try to find Darren Orlovsky and see if we can have him and Evan.
With a crowbar?
Well, listen, we'll let you get back to your Shapiro sandwich. Paul's out. He's at a funeral. Nobody we know.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and the gang's back from Indy, Evan and Deuce. We're going to talk about their experience at the Combine. We'll talk about what they learned, what their highlights were, what their lowlights were. We'll also talk about what NFL news is happening around the league. There was not a big trade, but a significant trade yesterday with the Texans and the Lions. Talk a little bit about that. Free agency opens up on the 11th. Tampering opens up on the 9th. So lots to go over here on an off-season.
Today is today the deadline for franchises. You got another franchise tag signed today. Well, not signed, but tagged Breece Hall for the Jets.
Okay.
Yep.
Was
So
tagged.
a lot of off-season stuff to get at here on Patriots Unfiltered. It's Evan, it's Paul, it's me, it's Deuce, it's Alex in the booth. And it's 855-PATS-500, the hotline. Podcast@patriots.com is the email address. So let's get right into it. Evan and Deuce, you're back from Indy. What were your highlights?
Well, my steak at St. Elmo's Steak, of course. Shout out there. So we got to start with the food, right? That's what everyone wants to know.
Sure.
The breakfast as well. Found a good breakfast.
Good
breakfast. Well, as far as football, though, I would just say the edge group. I think there's a lot of different really intriguing players there that the Patriots could definitely use that have that Mike Vrabel style. That was a conversation I had a lot in Indy was, Mike Vrabel player. Like we didn't know exactly what that was last year. Now you have a pretty good sense of it. And I think there's a number of guys that could help in positions in need, not just edge, but also tight end.
Yeah, I think along those lines, this draft, I feel like before I really started to dive into it, kind of had a bad rap for being a weak draft class because at the top it's maybe not as strong. It's not a quarterback draft outside of Mendoza, so you don't have a ton of blue chippers, in a draft like this. But I think this is one of those like real draft nerds kind of drafts because it goes deep at several positions, and I think you're going to see starters come out of the third, fourth, maybe even into the fifth round at certain positions, just to add a depth, at type positions. On the defense, especially like Mike mentioned, edge, linebacker, safety, corner, tight end, wide
Defensive
receiver.
line.
Yeah, they're just depth really into probably early day 3. I'm not saying that they're going to be like game changers, but there's going to be guys that get to that point in those positions specifically that I think are going to be interior offensive line, great center and guard draft this year. So like that's the strengths. Now, is that the sexy, there's 6 blue chippers up at the top and everybody's like going for them? No, but I think that there's probably more depth in the draft than I gave it credit for before I really started to dive into it.
Good draft to not be looking for a quarterback.
Good draft to not be looking for a quarterback. Good draft if you don't need a running back. It's terrible outside of Jeremiah Love. The running backs are not great.
Really?
Those positions are a little bit weaker. Like I said, I don't know if there's the top end talent, the blue chip type talent, but I think that there's a lot of depth at certain positions that the good evaluators are going to find starters, in the 4th round in a draft like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, some players that are good atop the draft aren't really the premium positions, too. I think that's what hurts it. But another year where guys just test out of the roof. I mean, it's just amazing.
We can talk about that.
I mean,
I think there's some survivor bias there.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean?
there's only about a 37% participation rate now. So all these players, all these kids are getting, advised, like, if you're going to test poorly, then just don't test, right? And just kind of say, hey, watch my tape, So,
well, they do get tested at the private one-on-ones, right?
Pro
Like,
days. Yeah.
they're pro days, but like, they do, but those are all hand times, and it's just different.
well, even beyond the pro day, if the every team is allowed a certain amount of players to come to their facility,
Yeah.
do they put them on a vertical?
No.
No, they don't do that.
No. They'll measure them and they'll weigh them,
Yeah.
but not, the combine type stuff happens either at the combine or the
They
pro
don't
days.
do a shuttle drill or
No,
cone
no.
drill.
They will
No?
do private workouts where they'll put them through football stuff,
Okay.
like Vrabel going down to LSU last year and working out Will Campbell, but 40 times and things like that is this time of year. And, the participation rate is really down at the combine. The even teams sending people is starting to shrink a little bit.
I heard back like a lot of teams are just skipping the combine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ton, but half a dozen maybe this year, and so you're just getting to the point now where the only guys that are testing are the guys that are going to run well, and if you're not going to run well, then you don't test. So you have that sort of thing going on.
So the
a lot.
averages are going up.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what does that mean for the future of the combine? If 37%
That's a good
are
question.
only participating, that number's probably going to go down. And I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a handful of teams not even with a presence. What does that mean for the event?
Yeah, that's sort of another question that I think is just in terms of big picture coming out of Indy that's on my mind is just what's the future look like at the combine? Is it reimagined? Is there a way to incentivize the players to actually test? What can they do to make that happen? Because as of right now, they're at, like I said, a 37% participation rate, but that's not even them participating in all the drills.
Right.
That the agilities, like nobody does the agilities anymore. Like you don't. I think one running back ran a 3-cone. One running back out of the entire class ran a 3-cone, and it's like if you look at the predictive stuff, like the agilities in a lot of positions, edge rusher, places like that. That's maybe the most important drill out of all of them is how they change directions and how quick they are, in terms of sinking their hips and that sort of thing. And these players, it's at the very end of the workout, they opt out. They don't do it. So, there's even drills within the drills that players are cutting. So we're seeing all these like athleticism testing numbers and all these scores and stuff like that, and it's like just the 40 and the jumps, and there's no agility. Well, it's great to know that guy's explosive, but like, can he move? Like, can he cut? Can he change directions? Based off the combine numbers, at least you don't know.
Interesting. But the big scandal down there.
Scandalo.
Yeah, Robin Coventry writes in, can someone please mention the outrageous flirting that occurred during Mike's chat with Cynthia Freeland at the Combine? There might be
heard
snow
about
in
that.
Boston, but it's hot in Indy. So what's going on here?
I don't know.
I've heard about
She
this from multiple people.
She's really.
Yeah.
This is the first time hearing of it. I'm a little.
Just say you could.
You
do
were
better.
involved.
I wasn't aware that we were having a moment. She liked my Boston accent, which I'm like, I don't know.
You don't really have a hard
I
Boston
don't.
accent.
You don't?
No, I didn't.
I
But
don't
she
think
went
you
to
have a Boston accent
but
at all.
in my defense, I was noticing she was going around to the different teams, and she was hugging it out with everybody. She came right in.
She's
I'm
a
like, oh,
friendly
we're
person.
hugging. I never met you in my life, but she gave me a hug right off the bat. So maybe that set the tone. But it was fun. I
You
don't
guys have been back for 2 days. This is the first time.
This is the first time hearing of it too, Paul.
Hugs.
That's why I was a little.
I'll
taken
just say you could do
Yeah,
better.
I mean, Walter and Melrose, same thing. Deuce and Cynthia Freeland were definitely flirting during that interview.
Good for you,
What's
Mike.
going on?
I'd like to think I just give good interview, and it seems like I'm.
I give good.
Give good interview.
Why couldn't they said I was flirting with Vrabel? That was.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did that too.
I probably did. There were some screenshots of me with Vrabel. I think
Were you just
Josie
like,
was. Well, no, she was grabbing it like, look at you, and I'm just like, ah.
Deuce on the loose in Indy.
No, it was fun though. We got to talk to a number of people. I mean, the big one was Tony Kinkella. We got to talk to him for
Yeah,
the
he's
first
really
time. Really good Wazoo guy. I always enjoy talking to the guys actually on the inside and getting to make these decisions. So it was interesting getting to talk to him. He took over Cam Williams this year, so that was good. But no, my biggest disappointment though with the combine, and I was telling the boys earlier, was I was killing some time on Friday before coming back at the workouts, and Jack Hughes was standing right there waiting to go on McAfee, and I'm a lifelong hockey guy, and he still got the teeth out, and all I can think of what a picture that is, get a pic with this kid, but I chickened out and didn't get one. So that's my biggest regret of the combine, not getting a pic.
What was Jack Hughes doing at the combine?
He literally flew in to go on McAfee, and so I happened to walk in right as he was just hanging around with this few different people.
Could you have done that over Zoom or something?
I don't know. I know.
I give him credit. I hate Zoom.
Didn't he play last night? Because I think he had a game the night before in New Jersey, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, I was saying to Ev, I'm like, you're so used to looking at all these NFL prospects, and all of a sudden you see a kid who's like 5'10", 165, and you're like, elite professional athlete right there. It's pretty striking. But
there was one wide receiver was 5'6" at the combine.
Some little guys.
Yeah.
So
4.28.
that would be my question. You guys talked a lot about some of the deeper positions, and one position that we haven't really discussed at all is wide receiver. I just curious what your thoughts were, both of you, on that group.
I'm excited about that group. Honestly, I think there's a lot of depth in that group too. And again, like I think that when you don't have like, a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Malik Neighbors type of prospect that's kind of anchoring the whole thing as like this is the prize of the draft, you start to get a little bit of, it's not a great receiver class, but there's a lot of good receivers I think in this class. Now the question is, who among those kind of day two group has a ceiling to them that is going to actually move the needle for a team like the Patriots. Like, I think that there's probably a lot of guys that are going to be NFL receivers out of this class, but is there one in particular that you're looking at and you're like, okay, that guy has the potential to be a number one receiver and not just part of a receiver room in the NFL. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of guys that are probably going to have nice careers in the league in this group. I'm not sure if there's a lot of guys that are going to be stud number one, move the needle type of guys.
Kind of what your flavor is too. Do you want a big guy like Malachi Fields was one?
He's off the list.
Yeah, Denzel Boston. Not Evans kind
of
guys.
And you're saying because they'll be gone.
No, because he ran a 4.6.
No, he's slow. And that's so. There's big guys who are slow, and I mean, I know you liked what's his face, Brazel.
Yes.
Who's a tall, fast guy. There's a lot of shifty guys. Mekhi Lemon, probably gone. But I think it's tough. It's like looking what's going to fit the Patriots best. What kind of receiver do they need? It's easy to say they need a number one, but those can come in different packages. They can be uncoverable guys who can line up anywhere, or they can be big outside receivers that you're hoping can break some runs and not just be big body downfield contested catch guys. So I think that's what I'm trying to sort out right now is, like, to Evan's point, who has that potential maybe on day 2, 3. I mean, I'm still a big fan. I'd almost always take a wide receiver in there and try to continue to develop that position. But it's what's the body type? What are you looking for? I mean, I know a lot of people like Omar Cooper Jr. That was one. A lot of probably a big riser, I guess you would say, coming out of the combine. So it's like flavor. It's tough. Yeah. I mean, and especially where, like Ev said, there's not a lot of separation from these guys. It's going to really come down to what the teams prefer, and that's something you don't really get from these mock drafts. It's you're going through who's making the mock draft rather than this team's really going to want this guy. Hard to know until they actually.
So when do the pro days start and the private visits?
Yeah,
pro days will be after free agency. Yeah, most teams.
after the 11th?
Yeah, most teams now are, turned to the pro side and start focusing on free agency. So we'll get, like, pro days towards the end of March. I was actually just talking to our friend Lucas. BC's pro days on the 23rd.
Yeah.
So, like, right in that area is probably where, they'll start doing that kind of stuff. And then after the pro days come the private visits in, the early April time of the year. So that will happen then. But yeah, the wide receiver position, Deuce is right. A lot of different body types, skill sets. I keep gravitating towards the, bigger frames, the guys on the outside that, 6'3", 6'4" type of receivers. Cause I just look at how Drake May threw to guys like Mac Hollins last year. And I'm like, I just kind of feel like you could get like a more explosive, younger version of Mac Hollins. Like that sort of feels like the right type of receiver, especially if you're going to bring Diggs back and have him be sort of the inside guy, to really get somebody on the outside that can take the top off the defense and that has a catch radius and has some size to him. That's why I've gravitated towards Brazel so much, is because he's 6'4", ran a 4.37, has that big catch radius, explosive guy on the outside. That just seems like maybe I saw a mock draft today that had them taking Concepcion from Texas A&M, who's a really fun player, but that's like a shifty slot guy. And I just don't know if that, he's bigger than like a Pop Douglas. He's like 5'10", 5'11", but I don't know if that's really the skill set that fits the quarterback. It might be the skill set that fits the offense historically, but is that really the type of receiver that Drake May wants to throw to? Zachary Branch from Georgia.
Yeah,
he's like a 5'8" Pop Douglas,
it's like Deion
Zay
Branch.
Flowers clone.
Yeah.
Is that really the type of receiver that Drake May likes working with?
Right.
I think that's a question that, because I didn't include him on my list. And I got some people that asked me, like, why didn't you include Branch? And I'm like, 5'8" slot receiver? Like, didn't we just kind of try to do this and it didn't really work? Like,
it's kind of one of those things of like, it's a historical Patriots thing where you're like, well, we need that shifty slot guy.
I mean, I like Concepcion a lot, but I understand everything that
he's
guys
got
are
a little
talking
bit
about.
more size to him. Omar Cooper Jr. obviously is a very popular name that might have be like a late first round pick, early second round pick. But again, 5'10", shifty, good route runner, strong, body control and contact balance, but like not the catch radius that you're looking for, not the size you're
So
looking
he
for.
might be the bigger guy in that one would be his teammate, his college
Surratt.
teammate, Surratt.
Yeah, I really like
Yeah,
Surratt.
maybe a day 2 guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you have concerns about his top end speed.
Look at me with my draft knowledge.
Good for you, Paul.
So you know who Surratt reminds me a lot of?
Watch the national championship.
Well, I watched the whole season.
He's got a little Jacoby Myers to his game, where he's kind of got this like craftiness to him, and he's got this IQ where he knows how to get open, and you can tell that he sort of understands the technique and the nuances of the position. There was just concerns about his top end speed and his ability to run by people, and then he didn't run the 40. So that tells me that his top end speed ain't so good.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a little bit of a concern with him. But if you're looking for a guy that's kind of just smooth and gets open and has a good size to him for that type of skill set, he's to me kind of a lot like Jacoby Myers was.
In terms of the Patriots staff, scouting and coaching, what would you say their mood was?
Mood.
I would say excited for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest takeaway I'd have from conversations.
Because I saw
that
one
had.
video. It was Vrabel walking and Evan trailing, and Vrabel said something to you like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Oh,
that
Evans."
was- yeah.
Like, what
Okay,
was that?
Can we
all
set
about?
this up? Can we tell this whole story?
So first of all, Deuce kind of threw us under the bus with the question that he asked Vrabel and was like, "Oh, we don't really get to talk to you." And Vrabel was like, "I do press conferences multiple times a week," and then like I was like,
No, I saw that when the two of you were sitting down.
Yeah, right,
But
so
this is when you were
No,
walking.
this
Yeah,
carry
so-
over. This carry over.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Okay.
gets
Yeah,
like
it's a-
this
it's
is
a-
you
okay.
opened
It was a
can of
running
worms
thread
here.
of,
Okay.
Yeah, you
of
opened a
not
can of
only
worms.
keep going.
So I'm walking, and we were walking from the table where we were sitting doing the interview to the side scrum that he did with local media. And so, being the big J that I am, I was like, here's 30 seconds that I can talk to the Elliot or Vrabel, and we're walking over there. And so I was like, oh, well, this will be funny. Like, this will be my in, to have a conversation with them. And so I was like, I do go to your press conferences and ask questions every once in a while. And he was like, very occasionally. And I was like, well, if I'm going to ask a question, I want it to be a good question. I don't want to come in there and ask you something, just to ask you something, right? And after the side scrum was over with the local media, he stands up and he looks at Nicole Yang from the Boston Globe, and he goes, "Nicole, how many questions do you think Evan asked last season?" And Nicole's like frozen.
Deer in
She's
headlights.
like, "That's
Deer in headlights.
very, classic Vrabel putting somebody on the spot in front of everybody." And I'm standing behind Vrabel, so I'm giving Nicole I'm going like hi, like lots of questions, and she said 5. And I was like,
Oh, I asked 5. You asked way more than 5
and I
questions.
was like, 5. I was killing her for it the rest of the time. I was like, 5? Like, come on.
You ask at least a couple of questions every week.
Yeah, I was like, 5 is crazy. But that continued throughout the entire morning.
Evan caught strays on that one, and I want to apologize because it was a way I thought into the interview. I pointed out, and I was trying to make the joke that we don't get up early enough to talk to you during the season because I know he hates having to go on, Greg Hill like 6 a.m. every morning. So I was just trying to have a little icebreaker joke. But, as I'm learning it when I interview Vrabel more, you don't get to play on your field. He's going to take you in where he wants to go.
Right.
And so he took it as, and I don't ask any questions in the press conferences. So I felt like Evan caught the strays, because then it turned into a conversation about whether or not we ask questions enough. When I was really just trying to say, we didn't talk to you since last year, and this is the next time we're checking in with you. Have you recovered from the, with that kind of
And I know what you're saying too about how he'll turn the tables.
Yeah.
Like you think that you're just making like just a little sarcastic, like funny line, but he'll shoot
grasp
back.
onto it, and you're like, I didn't mean
I
to.
remember when I talked to him to do the yearbook feature, there were other interviews that were going to happen at the same time. I had my 5 minutes. Someone else was going to have their 5 minutes. And I was like being, my goofy self. And I was like, hey, I hope you guys didn't ruin it for me when I came in, like talking to like the other, like our people that were going to be talking to him, like making a joke. And he's like, you just worry about not ruining it for yourself. And like completely. And I was like, okay, I kind of walked into that one, but he'll always turn it right away.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that he's sort of monitoring how many questions we ask. I would think he's thrilled that we don't, bog down the press conferences.
I mean, he said it right at the end of our interview with him. He's like, ask more questions, guys. So it became a whole thing.
Yeah, like sometimes, the questions you want to ask aren't the questions
and
they want to ask.
The way Evan said it, like I can go in there and say, I'm curious about what made you think of Kairos Tonga.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask those questions.
What
I
have
let
you seen from-
I let the beat writers that are there every day ask those nonsensical questions. I'm not going to waste anyone's time with those.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question about something very specific to a game, or something
Clock
very
management.
specific to a decision or a personnel move that may or may not be something that we should be asking.
Right.
Those are the only questions I'm interested in.
Right.
Why Jalen Hawkins over Kyle Duggar?
Yeah.
Something, like that's very broad. But like, they don't want me asking that.
Yeah, that's why I plant those with Taylor. and he just
Obviously, you.
yeah. So when Vrabel said, originally said, how many questions do you think Evan asked? And I was like, well, that's because Taylor asked them all for me.
That was good.
And
That was a good bounce back.
And he was like, don't blame Taylor. And I was like, I'm not blaming Taylor, but
No, I'm crediting him.
No.
yeah, but I only ask questions if it's pertinent. Like if I'm writing a story,
Right.
and the story
The way it should be.
and the story is
Right.
only going to work if I have a quote from Vrabel in there. Then I'll ask him, I'm writing about the offensive line, like what have you seen from that room this season? I'm not going to go in there and be like, so, Ben Brown or Jared Wilson, like I'm not going to.
That's a perfect one.
I'm thinking it, but I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And we came out of that same press conference, you and I, and we both thought the same exact thing. I can't believe, because Greg Bedard asked if there was going to be any thought to sticking with Ben Brown. That's absolutely a question that was on my mind, but I don't think that's one that Patriots.com should be asking.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Next press conference, I got to go sit in the front row.
Now I'm going to
take Callahan's
take-
seat.
I'm going to go in.
Mike Rice.
I might toss bombs next year.
Right.
I might go in with guns blazing.
I will say though,
Like Paul Perello, Patriots Unfiltered.
it's got a little the newsy hat on.
You called me out last year for not asking a lot of questions, so
Here we go.
on.
why did you bench Drake, man?
I think it's I think some of it is probably, calculated, but he knows all of our names. He
Oh,
knows
yeah.
the entire beats, everybody's name. He generally, I think, knows like what you're asking, what you're writing, that sort of thing. But when we had the local media scrum, he went right down the line and allowed each person to kind of ask one question. Yeah, Evan. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Andrew. Like,
he's very good at that.
He knew every single person's name in that scrum. It was pretty impressive.
The story I told was my first combine when Paul and I were there. I remember we were sitting at our little table. I mean, I think there were, 4 of us there at the time. I mean, it was a small contingent. But seeing Mike Vrabel with the Titans, and he's just, sitting like Vrabel sits, like, with the team, kick back, and, and I'm like, man, can you imagine Bill stop it? Like, I couldn't imagine it. Cut to this year, not only does he sit down with us, and I felt like we had a pretty good, growing rapport with him, but, just to see how he greeted everybody that was sitting of our team around the table and, kind of joking with Cassidy and, it just, he's quickly, I think that's what somebody asked him, like, what's the difference? He's like, I know everybody this year. And it was clear, especially our team around the table, that he's familiar with these people. He felt comfortable with us. And, that was the biggest thing for the interview. didn't want to do the same old thing where it's cold. Like, you should start to know us a little bit, and I think we do ask questions.
Mike was
sometimes.
kind because at that first combine, he then got up from that and came over and dumped on me, if I recall. But that's,
It is funny though, as I get to know him more, and the story you told, like him always kind of taking something you said, and he's going to take it the way he wants to take it. And thinking about Pop Douglas when they asked him about his Vrabel, and he's like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if he's kidding or not. He keeps you on your toes. He does. He's incredibly likable, but at the same time, he's a tough nut to crack.
He's a wise ass.
Yeah.
He's always been.
Yeah. You can't pin him down. Like, you can't go into an interview with him and be like, oh, this will be a good joke because you don't know what he's going to, you don't know what direction he's going to take it. But that's a good thing.
He never lets you lead.
Yeah. He's going to take it how he wants to play it. Yeah.
He's going to lead it. He's going to direct where you're going.
Yeah.
In that audience, he's definitely the one that's leading.
Well, that's like I said, and I don't even mean it overly disrespectful. Sure, it came off as disrespectful, but I'm not interested in asking those kind of,
Well, that's what I mean. We go to the press conferences.
questions.
I don't, come out of. I mean, you have the training and the background for those kind of things. Where we come out of those press conferences, like nobody asked about this, and I'm like, that's a good point. My brain isn't really wired that way. I mean, I like to go there and be attentive and listen to what he's having to say, but and there's been times in the past where I would ask Bill questions where it was, I'm working on something and I'm very curious about this, and no one else is going to ask it. So I don't know. When I get to that point now, I'll sit up front and get right in Vrabel's face and ask him a question.
I think the most interesting thing that he said to us in our interview, which is on Patriots YouTube and Patriots.com if you want to check it out, was about the physical development of the players. Like that, I think really stood out to me the most. And he told a really cool story about Tom Brady early on and before TB12 and pliability, doing the tight end and linebacker lifting regiment to try to build up his body. He said probably around like 02, 03, around that time frame. And he said he called out the young players on the team and was like, this is a grown man's sport. Like, we got to get stronger. We got to get bigger. We got to get, guys got to grow, physically. And I think, we kind of were talking, I think, about the offensive line. So it was kind of pretty obvious who the guys he was talking about.
I think your question was something along the lines of, what is it that you want players to work on in the offseason?
Yeah.
And he said, we got to get stronger.
Yeah.
He's like, boom. He had that top of mind.
Well, it was off of his press conference he had said that he challenged the coaches to continue to evolve and to find ways within their system to continue to change and get better and bring new twists to it. And, the question was kind of what about the players? What more do you want to see? And he went into that. So I thought it was, I totally clocked it too. And I'm like, I know who this is directed at.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yep.
Campbell, Wilson, but even Drake May. Like, I think all of those guys, I think he was talking to in terms of, play strength and developing their
Drake
bodies.
took a pounding this year. I mean, I think he's got to put, as he gets older, I think he'll fill out a little bit. But, having that little bit of extra layer of muscle to protect him over the long season, I'm sure will
Work on the neck, prevent those concussions when you hit
it's
the
like
ground.
The wrestling, right?
Yep. All right, 855-PATS-500 is the hotline. Podcast@patriots.com is the email address. Let's get into it. We'll start with, Dan in Daytona. What's up, Dan?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Evan and Deuce, I first wanted to ask, how was the combine? Did you guys have a good time?
We just talked about it.
It was good. It was
Best
good.
week of the year.
It was good. I came in a little late because of the snow, but Evan got the full the full shebang.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, sorry, but I just came in online on your discussion.
Okay.
But one other thing I wanted to bring up before I let you guys go. I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but I know you guys heard about the Inception kid, but everyone's take, even on Paul's shows especially, and on national media with Colin Hurd and stuff like that. What do you guys think about if they said, if we happen to let Stephon Diggs go and they bring in the Conception kid out of Texas A&M, would you guys rather bring him in, or maybe possibly even keeping both? If we were to draft Conception and then keep Stephon, but I think they should also restructure his deal.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that's a swap.
No, they need. I mean, I like Concepcion, but they need more than that.
Yeah,
like
I
a
just
lot to expect.
So
from him.
Diggs would need to be replaced if they do not bring Diggs back.
Yeah,
I would like to pair some Diggs with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
instead of 1-for-1 swap, I would like to
Or two similar
keep
players.
Stephon Diggs and sign an Alec Pierce, draft the Chris Brazzell, draft somebody that is on the outside that, let Diggs do the short underneath chain moving stuff, and then have your guy on the
Couldn't
outside
agree more.
that over the top, and that sort of thing. Like I think that's the best course of action for them, and kind of the one I expect them to do. Like I think they're going to try to figure something out.
I mean,
with
the
Diggs.
people who pay attention to such things say that Diggs wiped out his Instagram account. It's
No.
completely
What does it mean?
blank now. So yeah, what does that mean?
yeah,
Who
Is that
knows?
for us? Is that for
Yeah.
his girlfriend?
I don't know.
absolutely nothing.
Mark's in Connecticut. What's up, Mark?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call as always, and just had two quick things for you. It looks like there's a couple of really big linemen in this draft. I'm looking at guys that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", to maybe replace the right side of that line. And my other point that I really wanted to talk about is, again, tight end. We haven't addressed tight end in a long time, and it just seems like the middle round is going to be real strong with guys that I'm looking at, guys that are 6'5", 6'6", that can do it all. They're a blocker and a receiver, and just kind of wanted to get your guys' take from the combine on that. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right, thanks,
Yeah, that's
Mark.
what Vrabel said too. Kind of surprising to
Volume.
me. That's what he went. The volume of the tight end class. So not necessarily the top. Kenyon City was crazy tested. I mean, he looks like a specimen. But after that, I mean, again, it's a little bit flavor. I think when you're. I just don't really get the people who are like, well, they need the blocking. Like you're stressing the blocking. Like I understand that that's a need, and I've been one to lament that need. But I also think that there's a number of really great athletes in here that could potentially give you, a TE2 that can make an impact in the passing game. And, maybe you figure out the blocking tight end part of it on your own time, as Paul likes to say. But I'm much more intrigued by guys like Max Clare than the other guy from Ohio State, just that have some athletic
Max
juice.
Clare can
and
block
move,
a little bit.
You know?
I went through all these guys yesterday.
Yeah.
For the most part. And I think Max Clare was actually probably the one that stood out the most because he can block a little. I just think that from an offensive coordinator's perspective, Eli Stowers, Michael Trigg from Baylor, 6'3", 240, they're really receivers.
Yep.
And I think from an offensive coordinator's perspective, it's like, well, what mismatch am I getting by putting this guy on the field? If he's just going to get treated like a receiver and they're going to stay in three-corner nickel, or they're going to put their six defensive backs on the field on third down, like what advantage am I getting by having this player instead of just putting a wide receiver on the field in his spot? And I think that that's where it sort of changes from Stowers is a great athlete and he can catch the ball and he's super smooth, all that kind of stuff. But how do they go about getting the mismatches that you're hoping to create with him if all you're really doing is putting him and Hunter Henry on the field, who are both not plus blockers? And I think that's the problem that, just from a coaching angle, it's like, well, what do I do with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
He's athletic and he's a good receiver, but what's his role and how do I get him on the field for all three downs? And I think that's the biggest thing that when you look at it from that angle, because all these guys that are going in that range, a lot of them can just catch passes. We're talking about Stowers, Trigg, Jolly, the guy from NC State. None of these guys are great plus blockers, and I just don't know. Even Claire is probably a Hunter Henry blocker where he's gonna be functional, but
6'4",
not
236.
not be great as a blocker.
Staying on the tight end theme, Luke writes in, curious your thoughts, would trading or cutting Hunter Henry save us any money on the cap? And if so, what do you think reasonable trade compensation would be to receive? My thought is possibly trading Henry, then signing a tight end or two from this free agent group, Kate Otten, Daniel Bellinger, and Charlie Kohler, and then drafting one or two from this group, Oscar Delp, John Gillenborg, or Sam Roush. The purpose of this would be to try to get us some balance from the tight ends for both the pass and run game to run 12 personnel more effectively.
I don't like that plan. I think Hunter Henry is definitely, on the other side of 30 and he'll be winding down, but those guys, that feels like a net loss to me. I do think it's a position
Absolutely.
major long-term need. And that's why I'm, with Evan, and this is a really interesting class. And they haven't drafted a guy in a while. I mean, it's really just been, Hooper and Henry the last couple of years. And before that, it wasn't a lot of, Matt LaCroix's of the world. Remember him? So I think it's a position of long-term need, and I'd love to see them target one of these mid-range guys and hope that he develops into that guy.
Yeah, I'm interested in the draft stuff that you guys are talking about, but replacing Hunter Henry with a Charlie Kohler, Kate Otten, that's.
I'd take Kate Otten with Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I'm talking about replacing him. No. It's kind of like the Diggs thing. It's a different version of it, but you can decide you want to move on. You can convince yourself because you've been brainwashed into thinking that the salaries have anything to do with any of this. So you can convince yourself you're better off if you move on from Diggs, or you need him to take a restructured deal of some sort. You need the player. You need the production. Now, if you think that he's on the way down and last year what you got out of him on the field is going to decrease, fine.
Yeah.
I need someone who's going to do what he did last year. And then that would just be net even.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea of moving on from good players without a plan to replace them.
I like the idea, just looking at the tight end class, and Vrabel said volume, deep class. Double dipping is not a terrible idea.
They've done that a lot in the past.
They have,
just not recently.
Yeah, they have a third, they have 2 fourths.
Keen and
yeah, well, you don't have to talk
UCLA
about
guy.
that.
Garrett Mills.
Devin Asiasi.
Devin Asiasi.
4 6-round picks. So can you go get one of Deuce's guys, one of these receiving type of tight ends, and then maybe go get a blocking tight end and develop both those guys behind Hunter Henry for, and maybe, one of those guys starts to contribute in some capacity as a rookie. The emailer mentioned Sam Roush, who had a hell of a combine, is like 265 and 6'4", 6'5", 265, but can run. Ran like in the 4.6s, high 4.6s, low 4.7s. He was a really intriguing player. It's funny though, like the one thing with him, like he's like he's got dino arms. Yeah, he's
31-inch arms.
He's got like a 76-inch wingspan. So like he's like literally the Will Campbell of tight ends. He looks the part. He looks fantastic.
Give him to me.
He has all this talent, but his frame is just awkward.
Yeah.
And so just watching him yesterday a little bit, like that does come up, where catch radius and blocking radius and things of that nature. But like that guy is a unit. He's big.
I just say I see the TE2 position as just an opportunity, a clear opportunity where on the offense, and I'd like to upgrade at the wide receiver position, but the most direct route to me is if you could, work a guy in. Hunter Henry is starting to come in, and now you've got maybe a dynamic young rookie that you can feed those TE2 steps to, that he starts to develop a little bit, and maybe, it does give Josh a new kind of twist to play with depending on what their skill set is.
Anthony in Virginia wants to know, who are the guys right now that are projected to be gone by the Patriots pick that may still be there when we pick? In other words, guys who may fall.
Well, that's so hard to say.
We know?
I'd look
too
more
early
at
for that
position groups.
stuff.
I'd look more at position groups. Definitely the defensive end edges. There's going to be some of those guys, no matter where or who goes when, unless there's a huge run. But I think that's the position. I kind of like the tackle class too. I feel like this draft, right tackle of the future. If you could come out of this draft with the right tackle of the future and somebody, behind Morgan Moses.
Would you want to do that with the first pick?
I don't know if I'd want to do it with the first pick.
There's been a lot of talk about that.
I think there would be one there, but I don't know the first pick.
Because the drop off is terrible.
Yeah.
So like if you don't draft from the Blake Miller, Iannachor group, that cluster of tackles,
probably gone.
Getting a guy that has starter potential down the road after that is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Well, according to one of Paul's guys, Mike Giardi, he says he didn't report that.
That's not true.
What's not true?
Morgan Moses.
He didn't say that he's retiring.
No.
Somebody made that up.
Right.
And attributed it to Mike Giardi.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not true.
No. Well, either way, he's near the end, and we were lucky to get as many games out of him last year as they did. They took steps from the moment one of training camp to manage his workload. They're probably going to have to do that again. Can you hope to get that same performance out of him? I think they really need to be protected at the right tackle spot.
Yeah, I do see tackle as a need, but I just don't like it at 31. I think they need to.
I agree.
I think they need to find a player that fills a more pressing need for 26.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes seems counterproductive, because you are going to need to replace Moses. And I'm sorry, there is some uncertainty on the left side. You can't know for sure. I know what the plan is, and I'm down with the plan.
Yeah.
But They can't know that for sure.
No.
So
Which spot on the left
I
side?
get it.
Because I think
Both.
Both. Like I think the number one thing that I came out of the combine, just listening to all the what I'm hearings and reading all that stuff, I'm most concerned about is that nobody really feels like they're going to aggressively pursue left guards, and that to me, I just think that would be a major mistake.
No,
Like
I love that.
I don't really understand. Like it's a good left guard free agency class.
it is.
And, there's multiple guys at the top of the class: David Edwards, Suomalu from Pittsburgh, Vera Tucker, Batonio's now a free agent. Ian Rappaport was talking up Zion Johnson,
Yep.
BC kid that played left guard for the Chargers last handful of years, first round pick. Like getting a established, pure left guard
I
to
love
play
it.
next to Campbell,
Yep.
I
Well,
think could do wonders for him.
I agree
mean-
100%.
So, Vrabel is very open with the information that he gives us, but he could also be cagey. Like maybe they are thinking hard about guard, and
Yeah.
they're just not letting that out right now.
I would like to hope so, Fred, because
know?
that to me seems like such an easy one. Like there's all these left guards available in free
Oh, yeah.
agency. The market's not that crazy at the guard position right now where you're going to have to pay that guy $30 million a year. Like you can get one for $10 million. That's an upgrade and a really solid player. And I just think, we've talked about it in the past with, guys, like how much it benefits guys to have somebody next to them that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like has like a certain skill set that can complement their skill set. I just feel like that's such an easy layup.
Another piece of that to me is I've seen a lot of, everybody's, here's my simple 28-point plan for the Patriots offseason. And a lot of times those plans include extending Mike Onwenu to, get out of this last year of his contract. I know he graded out very highly on the online metrics kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I have questions about Mike Onwenu's future here, if this is going to be his last year. Maybe they do extend him, but I think that that's a need either way and maybe at both spots.
It's back to my thing that drives me the most crazy. It's like, they gotta redo Diggs's contract. They gotta redo Owenu's contract.
Right.
Like, so all the good players that you have, like, so are we gonna be next year? This time we have to redo Milton Williams' contract.
Right.
Like anybody who makes any
I've
significant
seen one
money.
of those. I saw one of those.
Like, what are we doing? The cap goes up exponentially every year. It's now over $300 million. Why are you so worried about cap space? I just don't. I'll never get it. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me in a league with a soft cap that you can do anything you want with it. Why the fans are so fixated on the
fans.
numbers that the players get. I will never get.
Yeah.
Why Robert Kraft is interested in it, I totally get. It's his money.
Yeah.
I get that when Mike Vrabel says we don't just want to get younger and better, cheaper is also one of those three things. And I understand from a team perspective, if I can get this production for $10 million and the same production for $5 million, sign me up for the $5 million every time. It generally doesn't work that way. Good players cost money. Mike Onwenu was a good player for them last year. He cost money. I think his average annual value was like $19 million, right? So it's not outrageous for a would you call him a top 5 guard? Top 5 right guard anyway?
Maybe.
If you want to differentiate between left and right?
Yeah,
Top
maybe
10?
at right guard
You
specifically.
So like that's what they cost.
Yeah.
Like, why does it bother people that he makes a good amount of money?
I think they
Now,
just look at these
your
online things.
You're a little worried about down the road. His size. He's been pretty big. He's battled some weight issues. Maybe you don't want to extend him. That's totally different. But I don't understand why I can't have Stephon Diggs at taking $26 million on the cap.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
That's like puts him at like 25 in terms of wide receivers for like an average annual value.
Not to mention they have $41 million in cap space.
Even if he is willing to take a haircut,
I ain't
doesn't-
going to take a haircut.
but even if he did, it doesn't solve your problem at wide receiver. You still need somebody who will take away the attention to him so that he doesn't become December Diggs.
Right. And if you want to tell me I want to move on from Diggs because I don't think he did it in the playoffs and I worry about it's only going to get worse, that's a perfectly logical football argument. But I'm not going to get rid of him because he's going to make more money next year than he did this year.
I just wondered if Fred's point too, like he's getting all this double team and extra attention in the playoffs. these teams are game planning you now heavily, and he's third down. It's where's Diggs and where's the double team? Like if you have somebody on the outside that's now saying, no, if you do that, you're leaving, insert player name here, one-on-one on the outside. Like now you can't do that as easily as you might have done it this year. And I think, the two guys that got taken out were Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs. And all year long, they had kind of been the engines of the passing offense, and they get taken out, and that we saw what the offense, where it went.
It's just to me what the biggest challenge is for this team on offense this offseason is how do you upgrade? And these guys are all coming back essentially, except for the tight end 2 spot. But I don't think anyone here thinks that that's going to be good enough next year for them to be able to compete at that next level. You're looking at Booty and Douglas and Henry are all going to be free agents next year. You need a long-term plan there. You need to find a guy, even if Diggs comes back, it might be just this year even. And then you're going to have a lot of turnover next year. So I just really think they need to find a way to take the weapons around Drake this year to a new level. And to be totally frank, I like Diggs for what he is. I kind of like Holland's rapport with him. But the other guys, it's just, I don't know if they're good enough to really get them to, that elite level week in, week out in the NFL season.
Will writes in, you guys are shocked Vrabel knows everyone's name. Vrabel, who's an Ohio guy, his personality is every Midwestern dad I grew up with, personable ball busters. We're drafting from 4 to 31 this year. What do you think the best value position-wise at this point is in the draft? Henderson was an early second. I want us to get the value of 911 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 211 receiving yards. I know we had some fluky long runs, but given the opportunity, he had the tools to bring those flukes to the house. I don't care if that value is on offense or defense. I take Henderson's rookie season over N'Keal Harry's entire career or Jalen Polk. And honestly, most of our late first, early second round picks. So he's looking for that type of value.
The strength of the draft is the edge rushers. And, they've made it pretty clear, at least they're kind of putting out there that edge rusher is a position that they're going to hammer, maybe even sign multiple and draft at least one guy. Somebody else mentioned like who are some of the guys that are kind of maybe falling down the board. I think Cassius Howell is one of those types of guys on the edge because he has weird dimensions again. He's got shorter arms, and Ruben Bain's going to be just fine. Ruben Bain's going top 5, top 10 easily. But Howell is someone that was kind of in that teens range going into the combine that maybe slips a little bit because of the depth of the class, because of the fact that he doesn't have the longest build, and maybe that's a guy that could be someone at 31 that would give you tremendous value because that would be best player available for sure.
And that's why those are always really hard to we had the question I think a couple of emails ago, what guy has a chance to fall, and I think it's hard to answer those because the league's view of the top of the draft is much different than what you're probably seeing from most people. Now, some guys are better than others. The Dane Bruglers, the Daniel Jeremiahs, they tend to have a better track record than most. But one guy that you think is falling is probably where the NFL had him to, roughly to begin with. There's always outliers. There's always, there's always a Cole Strange. Okay, who everybody, had, in the fourth round, and, the Patriots saw differently. There are always outliers, but generally the league doesn't look at these, wow, he's fallen, or wow, he went much higher than we thought. The league all kind of has the guys, and we're not privy to it.
I think the only, exception would be medicals. Yeah. If a guy goes through this type of process this year, and I think besides the interviews, the combine medicals is probably the most important part of the week. And if you get to the point, like I saw yesterday, report out there that Caleb Downs' knee didn't check out great. And so, if Caleb Downs now goes from a top 5 pick to 15th,
that would be a huge drop. Yeah.
Right. Then
a lot of people think he's the very best player in the draft.
Right.
Was Shedeur Sanders a huge drop?
Yeah.
Talent-wise, yeah. But I think that it usually is something like that. It's either personality didn't check out.
Not as big as it was made out to be, but yes, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be a 5th-round pick. I think a lot of people didn't think he was going to be a 1st-round pick.
Yeah. All right. I smell food. That means I'm hungry, and that means we have to take a break. But before we do, just want to let you know that it might be off season for football, but tax season is definitely here. You guys do your taxes
I did.
already?
I turned them in yesterday.
I have not done mine yet.
No. Your tax refund goes further at Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop Bob's and score more high-quality, affordable finds like game day-ready power reclining sofas with more places to charge your phone, storage-filled dining sets with more seating styles to fit the whole team, and comfy Bobopedic mattresses with more years on their warranties so you can rest up until next season. So stop in or shop online and get more for less with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. We'll be right back. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
The heaviest metal credit card of all time. Wielded at business dinners like a samurai sword. It's a classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Having end-to-end visibility on your most critical shipments. FedEx, the new power move.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
It's time for another episode of Pats from the Past podcast. Matt Smith here alongside with Paul Perillo, and we're pleased to be joined by former Patriots quarterback Matt Castle. Let's go forward a year, Matt, to 2007, which for many, many reasons is a season that should be celebrated here in New England. Maybe
100%.
not with the banner,
Yep.
but should be celebrated in New England. How good was that team? As one who had a chance, a front row seat to see greatness there.
It was unbelievable. I mean, even going into that offseason, I think the expectations started to rise. But also, we had all these new toys. We had the Ferraris on the outside. We have Randy Moss. We have Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth, Jabbar Gaffney, Rashae Call. I mean, we were loaded. Tight end room was outstanding. Daniel Graham and Ben Watson. So we had a full complement. And throughout that offseason, I was like, man, we're really good. I mean, because I had been there, and we always were successful, but this was a different breed of team. And then we got to that first week against the Jets, and I was like, oh, man. It's what I expected, but I didn't know that it was going to happen that quick, where we just dominated teams for probably until about, week 8, 9, when we finally had a game against Baltimore where we had to come back. We had the throw to Jabbar Gaffney. And
it's probably later than that.
Right? It was later than that. The Colts game in Indy that year was, you guys were down 10, I think, and Tom had to bring him back.
Right.
Welker scored to get it close, and then Falk, I think, scored the game-winning touchdown.
Yes, that was a game too. So later in the season, we started to get a little bit better competition, but the season itself was just a masterpiece in terms of the confidence level that Brady had throughout the year, the chemistry that he had with all those guys, particularly with Randy and Welk, was just incredible to see in person and watch, and to see their work ethic week in and week out. And then even you go to week 16 against the Giants, and I was supposed to play in that game, right? I was getting reps that week. They're like, hey, be prepared probably about the first quarter or so. Second quarter, you're going to go in this game, because we were locked up. And all of a sudden that game started, and the intensity was like a playoff game.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was unreal, because we couldn't improve our seed, obviously.
Right.
And
Nor could they.
Nor could they. And the anticipation was, okay, we're going to go out here, we'll play our guys, and then get ready for playoffs. And then all of a sudden, this first quarter ends, and I vividly remember Tommy coming to the sideline saying, I'm not coming out of this fucking game. And to a man, all those guys were like, let's go. And there was something more than just week 16. It was something more than just competitive. They knew what was at stake going 16-0. And when Brady said that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to play in this game. But it was the back and forth of that game was unreal, and the intensity of it. It really was like another playoff game before we even started.
And that was one of the few games that you didn't get to play that year because you had so many like 38-14 games. Like, you got a lot of work that year.
Right, got a lot of work and got in a bunch of those ball games because we were just blowing out a ton of teams, and it was just like, well, Castle's going in here.
When you look back at though, Matt, and you probably don't get a lot of reps in practice because Tom gets all the reps.
100%.
But do you get any reps where maybe you're thrown to Randy, maybe you're thrown to Wes? And what did that do from a development standpoint? You don't know where your career is going to go at that point in time. You're backing up the greatest quarterback. He was probably that at the time. What was that like to be able to work with those guys to help you down the road when you finally did get a shot?
Yeah, some of it was individual drills. Every now and then I'd get a bone and get to throw to those guys. And the big development part for us was sometimes preseason, right? Preseason, I got to start that fourth preseason game. I got to go, and there was times where they let me go with the starters, and so you develop a little bit of chemistry there. But and then, like I said, during training camp is really they'll give you some reps with the ones occasionally. And so that was pivotal for me to develop a little bit of chemistry with those guys. But overall, I'm telling you, if Tommy wanted to throw a ball, like sometimes Josh would put me in to throw one of these pass concepts that we have that he's run a million times. He's like, hey, let me get this. And I'll be like, oh, you son of a... Come on, bro. Let me have one throw. But, so you don't get that much time on task with those guys. But in the offseason and that, you get a little bit more. And that was pivotal in terms of just kind of developing those relationships for sure.
So what was it like the following year? You obviously expectations sky high again in 08.
Right.
And then Tommy goes down first quarter, 10 minutes into the game, and all of a sudden you're thrust into it. What was your mindset like going into that?
Well, I was lucky and fortunate because that preseason, Tommy was dealing with a little bit of a foot injury, so I got to start a few more games than I normally would have. Probably played a little bit more in the preseason. So
I remember.
That was helpful in terms of just getting yourself prepared to play. Because those games, I always say that was for a guy like me who was a backup, was such an important aspect of my development because it's live games, live bullets. And now you might not have the same competition as going up against the ones all game long. And you can see that as your career gets older, those ones like, I got to play in the preseason, now they're down to 2. But that development was huge. And then week 1 hit, and I was back in the position I normally am. I'm sitting there watching, and I remember that play like it was yesterday when Randy caught the ball down the sideline, he fumbles, and I'm watching, but I hear the hush come over the stadium. And then I look back and I see Tom down. And I've seen Tom down a few times. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever played with. But the fact that he wasn't getting up and that the doctor was out there meant something was a little bit more intense here. And then to watch him go in the locker room and Bill just casually come over and say, Castle, get your helmet, you're going in. Just like that.
Unbelievable.
There was no panic. There was no like, let's make this bigger than it is. It's just like matter of factly, hey, get ready to go. And then they punt it down to the 1 yard line, and we start going. We run the ball, and Randy runs a route that he wasn't supposed to. He's supposed to run the quick post. Patrick Surtain jumps inside. He runs right by him just because he's a savvy vet and saw it. And I come up off the fake anticipating the inside post, and he's 10 yards behind. Patrick Surtain went right by him. And going down, and I was like, all right, I'll just throw it out there, see what happens. He catches it and goes 56. So, but I don't know if it really set in until after that game, right? When the media attention that week, the noise that was coming outside the building, every media outlet was trying to get an interview about, who you're going to bring in, want to do a sit down, you haven't played, all the different storylines behind my career. And that's when I had to I had to try to decompress a little bit. And then, getting back in the building though that week was huge for me because once you're in this building, the routine is the same week in and week out. And that's one of their strengths is that once you're here, it's a work-like mentality. You're going to come in. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get prepared. We're not going to talk about who's here, who's not. Whoever's playing is getting ready to go. And so they did a great job of just kind of keeping me on task that week.
That Monday, I don't know that it was a gong show, okay, but I'm sure Pioli was making calls and all the, like you said, 5-alarm fire. Chris Sims, this guy, that guy are all coming in. What's going through your mind at that? And then maybe more importantly, what did it mean to you when, I don't know if anybody came up to you and said, hey, Matt, it's you. We're riding with you.
Can I just add to that real quick before you answer it? My recollection is that they had some visits planned, and Bill pulled the plug on them and just said, I think the thought process that Bill probably had was he doesn't need any veterans coming in looking over his shoulder. It's him. But we're going with Matt, and he doesn't need that. Is that true, or am I making that up?
You know what? It might have been. I tried to stay out of that as much as possible. I was like, I had enough on my plate, to be honest with you. But the fact that they didn't bring somebody in, and now that would create more noise and more chatter even inside the locker room. Who's going to be playing? Is Castle your guy? Are they going to have a quick plug on him where they're going to pull him as soon as he has any issues, with the team? And then we won those first 2 games. We get boat raced by Miami. We go out. We beat San Francisco. We get beat by San Diego. So we kind of had that back and forth. And I remember right after San Diego coming home from that trip, Bill coming in and talking to me and just saying, "Hey, you're doing fine. We're on the right path. And I don't want you thinking about this, that, or the other. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're our guy." And that gave me confidence. When he said, "I've got your back, you're our guy," and he told me that straight to my face. And look, you don't get a lot of that from Bill. You don't get a lot of reassurance. It's do your job, all that stuff. But the fact that he did say that kind of was a turning point for me, because I think the next week was Denver, and we went out and had a heck of a night. And from there, we started to play some good ball.
I'm going to go.
And now, great moments in history.
So in your mind, you don't get the title of weapon unless you're a real playmaker, a real difference
But that's
maker.
what we're talking about, right? That's the guys that they were looking
when
at.
I look at
they're interested in Brandon Ayuk.
No,
he's a guy that can impact the game.
I look at it like, okay, what is this quarterback's weapons? All right, he's got Hunter Henry at tight end. He's got Polk. He's got
Yes, that's different.
Yeah.
You're just rattling off all the skill position players.
Right. But
there's a difference between.
Who are the dependable people that this quarterback
do you think Demario Douglas is a weapon?
He should be.
He isn't. He's one of Jacoby Brissett's weapons, but is he a weapon?
Not yet, but he should
I like
be.
it. I like it.
He
I like
should
it.
be. Don't you?
I'm going all Andy on you.
I know. I like it.
I'm going all Andy on you.
But don't you think he should be a weapon?
He's among his
Why
weapons,
not?
but he's not.
Because he's not that kind of player.
Oh, I do. I think he's dynamic.
No, I don't think he is.
I need to.
I don't think he's ever seen. I don't think he's ever shown any dynamic ability.
Yeah.
Demario Douglas?
Yeah.
You're talking about Pop now.
That's another great moment from
Hey, don't forget about the PU newsletter. You can sign up. Go to patriots.com/PU newsletter. Mark in Fall River didn't forget. He said the newsletter was absolutely fire this past week. Well done, Alex. I enjoy every week, but especially great stuff this week. Tony is the real MVP for getting a belt for Deuce.
This is the MVP in general.
I'm still a little unsure why Deuce didn't do that himself, but this act of kindness from Tony has to be acknowledged. But also, that belt is crazy.
Okay, I have, first a couple things. I didn't have a chance. I got in Tuesday night. I got to the hotel. I went to the bar. I had a couple drinks with Tony and a couple other guys from the teams. Then I went up and went to bed. I got up. We had 8 o'clock interviews. I went right to the thing. And so by 8 a.m., I don't even know when Tony got it. I'm like, where did you go to a country western store to get this ridiculous belt? But I'm glad he brought this up. There's a further part of this story now for those interested, which a lot of people were not interested in this essay that I wrote about my belt. It
was a little long.
It was too long.
I was interested.
It was too long.
Jess asked for the Cliff Notes version. She was like, "I'm not reading all that."
My wife was literally like, "I'm not reading all this." I'm like, "Come on." So I'm getting ready to go to the airport from Indy, and I'm like, this belt is I don't know if you guys saw the picture of the belt. There's a lot of metal. It was like I was on the last loop of it anyway. I'm like, I'm gonna take it off, roll it up, put it in my suitcase here at the hotel, and I'm not gonna wear a belt on the plane. Just be done with it. I get home. Where's the belt? I lost Tony's belt. I lost that metal belt. I had the other belt for 15 years. Somehow it fell out of my bag. I have no idea.
Wait a minute.
Did you know this?
Wait a minute.
I know this part.
This was a bag you checked?
This was a bag I checked that was
Somebody
my
really
luggage.
liked
It had
it.
all my clothes
One
in
of the
it, all my toiletries.
security guys.
It was my luggage bag that gone. the belt was gone. So just so you
How
know,
many
everybody,
days were you in Indy?
I got a new belt. There.
Yeah, but it's
$12.
It
at
just
Marshalls.
doesn't fall out.
I know it doesn't.
Wait, how many days were you in Indy?
I don't know. Tuesday to Friday.
And you checked a bag?
Well, I just didn't want to deal with it. Usually, I got to wait for people anyway who are checking bags. So I don't care. You know.
Yeah, it's
So I apologize. I didn't have. I saw
you were
Tony
there the
this
whole
morning,
week.
and he checked my belt, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that I lost that. Beautiful country western belt he got me. But how did I lose it?
How
in
did you lose
3
the
days?
original? Like
the one that I loved?
Paul, did you read the
I don't know.
story?
I did, and I just don't really understand how you lost.
disciplining
Went
his
through the
kids and he
thing,
forgot
and like
it.
I don't know if it fell off in the machine or like what. I mean, I did turn, and I would have grabbed it if I saw it, but it wasn't there. And like I grabbed my bag, put my computer, and I started walking away.
With belts.
I do.
This is
Well,
why
I
you
did
need
it for
to-
like 15 years.
This is why you need
I-
to get TSA pre-check, so you don't have to worry about all this stuff.
The worst part of that story, though, was how little they cared. Like it was like they looked at me for like a millisecond and were like, I don't know. And like I'm like,
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway.
Also,
you also don't always have to take off your belt.
Again, Paul, she was like, you can leave your shoes on. I'm like, great. And I'm like, I went to put my hat. No, she could leave the hat too. And I'm like, how about the belt? And she's like, I'll probably leave it on. I'm like, probably? Like, are you like? It was bizarre, right?
Oh, do you have TSA pre-check?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't.
He doesn't.
Because if you have that, you don't. But you still need to tell them if you have a fake
you know what?
knee.
You know what?
I
I'm starting to
found
get
out.
sick of the TSA pre-check cult because my wife just joined it too, and everybody's just like how great it is. But then somehow they're always complaining about like it wasn't as fast this time, and the people who went on the regular
when
line
I
were
first
before
got
me.
it was like fast lane on the highway.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
nobody had it yet, so it was really fast. But like for people like us that travel for work, like you have your laptop. I usually travel with an iPad. Like there's just a lot of
So it's not taking stuff out that appeals
Yeah,
to you because
yeah.
I'm like I'm at the airport
Absolutely.
anyway. Where do I have to go?
I just
I'm like,
packed
2
it. I don't want to
hours.
unpack.
Yeah, this
just
is
take my
this is
computer.
a bad take, dude. It's so much easier.
I'm like, I gotta get to the gate quick so I can sit there for the next
about
2
that.
hours.
I'll tell you.
I have like 6 things I have to carry.
Good Eric story.
Oh, God.
Because he was one of he's a world traveler.
He was.
So-
I think he was
Jet
the
setter.
first ever
Yeah.
to get TSA.
early adopter. So there was one game where we had to, fly commercial. I forget where it was. And I'm behind him, and I didn't have TSA.
Oh God.
So I'm in a different line, but I'm watching him. And for some reason, they were making him show just a little bit more than he expected. And the harumphing that was going on, it was hysterical. It was hysterical. Oh, the rolling of the eyes and the heavy sighs. And oh.
Well, when we got to the airport on Sunday morning, there was a mass exodus to get out from the blizzard. So, like, it was packed. The airport, I was as busy as I've seen Logan in a long time. If we didn't have pre-check, I don't know if all of us would have made it through security. Like, it was going to be tight. And so, even though the line might be similar, it goes so much faster because there's less that you have to do once you get to the checkpoint. So, like, it still moves a lot quicker than the regular line.
Also on the newsletter, Mark says, what circles does Fred run in when trying to think of something widely loved or celebrated that you don't like? He came up with zucchini parm. Are people out there extolling the virtues of zucchini parm and I'm missing it? Yeah.
I've never heard of zucchini parm.
I
Is that
did.
like
People love it.
I did kind of chuckle at that one.
People love why? Like
So
I
it's
would
like fried zucchini
If you
on
have the choice of chicken parm, veal parm, or zucchini parm, why are you ordering zucchini
I've
parm?
never heard of zucchini. I've heard eggplant parm, but same.
Oh, that's right. That's when I got it wrong then. I totally fretted that.
Oh, that makes it so much better.
I totally
you
fretted that.
it.
I mean,
That's what I meant. I meant
I
eggplant
totally
parm.
have never heard of zucchini parm in my life.
I love
And
fried
was like,
zucchini though, but I was buying it because I'm like, well, that makes sense. Like, I love fried
thought you,
zucchini,
like,
but
knew
it's usually
something
cut
I
up in
did.
wedges. But like, a big hunk of it would I'd probably eat.
Maybe
that.
I just
eggplant parm is what you were thinking
eggplant
about.
parm is what I was thinking of.
That's great.
Glad I came
So
back
so
with
does that change, Mark, at all now that it's egg? Is eggplant and zucchini kind of the same?
No,
I'm
one's
not
like
the
a
right
big,
person to ask.
long, one's like more like a
What's it?
cucumber. One's
What's that,
a little
dude?
bit
It's
thicker.
what?
Yeah. Wow, you and Cynthia, really? Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay. So,
Okay.
now makes sense. Eggplant parm, not zucchini parm.
It's fine. It's just like a fried delivery system. Like nobody, like I don't know.
But why would you get eggplant
fine.
parm? Ugh, so mushy.
People like eggplant. I don't.
Yeah,
But
people love
like
eggplant. So that should have been my answer. Eggplant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I screwed that one.
I mean, that's like my seafood thing.
I wish
And
somebody.
You guys were all just jumping in on it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, zucchini part. Like, what?
Right. I wish somebody
No,
had.
I had never heard of it, and I did.
me
When I read that, I laughed to myself. I'm like, Fred, who the hell likes zucchini?
Oh, so you
parm?
weren't here when he brought it up on the show?
No.
No. Okay. all
No.
right.
Yeah. So people had several opportunities
Right,
to ask
so
me
you had,
what the
like,
hell are you talking
just
about.
thought
And
that
like
you knew
Matisse
something
were
that-
like, yeah, I know.
No, as
I
we
thought that
learned
this
in
was
the
like
open,
an Alex thing where it was like, this is just above my head,
that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, like I just didn't know.
But as we learned, I wasn't here Thursday, Mike, because I was at a funeral.
Right.
But no one you know. So as we learned in the open.
So
Hey, my condolences.
So Alex, that's a follow up for this week's newsletter. I need a mea culpa that I meant eggplant.
You'll have to
parm.
write that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's I just saw her actually. She's listening in over there, and she kind of clarified a little of the Diggs thing. I guess Cardi B had something to say about him,
Yeah,
and then he
it was
was
at a
getting people
concert.
at his IG, and now he's got to delete it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
said something at a concert. Some drama.
Okay.
No mention of my fantastic restaurant review of St. Elmo's versus Prime 47.
I
though,
thought
in
that
the
was
newsletter.
interesting. Ev. I still haven't been to
I
Prime
skipped over
47.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you said
Really
better
good.
steak. I was
Much
interested in
better.
that. Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
I went to a
that-
place in San Francisco that I guess is really hard to get into. It's like where the mayor goes and everything. It's called
Bougie.
the House of Prime Rib.
No.
Literally,
What do they have?
all they have is prime rib. But, different cuts, but it was outstanding.
How do you get the prime rib, Fred? Like, what is because like you must have a thing like this is how you have to get prime rib with this. Like, what is?
Well, like
because I got it last year and I got kind of torn up by
For
it.
me, it's it's medium rare, baked potato, wedge or blue cheese salad.
Horseradish, little horseradish
yeah.
sauce.
Horseradish sauce on
Oh.
the side. Yep.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I like
Yeah.
that. That sounds good. But
Yep. But this place was outstanding, and they have this thing where they have the salad comes in this big metal bowl, and it's on ice, and then she takes it and she spins it, and the salad starts spinning, and as it's spinning, she's adding in all the other stuff, the dressing and the crouton and everything, and it's a really cool presentation.
I didn't know about that, Fred. That sounds pretty
Yeah.
good. Prime rib, but is prime rib like a respected cut of meat in the steak world?
I think it's a different part of the animal than the steak, ribeye or whatever. And I don't think it's held in as high regard
Yeah.
as filet mignon or ribeye, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love prime
I just
rib.
always go with the fillet. It seems easy. It's always a nice
a
cut
layup.
of meat.
It's a layup.
Get maybe a little sauce on it.
Yeah. But House of Prime Rib in San Francisco, if you want to go, you can't. There's just no reservations.
How'd
So
you
don't
get
even
it?
try.
Well, what strings did you pull?
I had this guy
He knew a person.
pick me up in his Maserati. I'm not kidding either.
Fred.
Yeah.
So that's
One
what
of
he was
our
up to.
listeners.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was it a Christian from LA?
Yeah, I was
No.
gonna say.
No, it was one of our actual listeners.
Oh, all right.
gonna be upset
Speaking
about
of
that.
listeners,
You don't
855
wanna meet
past
Deuce and
500.
Paul, or-
Let's go to Eldred in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred?
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing today?
Good, Eldred.
Hey, Evan, thanks for the report on the wide receivers. By the time you came over, I was like I said, I was saying the beginning of the season. But how y'all feel about that trade for AJ if it comes through? Suck it maybe this year, if not, maybe a third from next year.
Yeah, sure. I love it. No, I like the player. I'd love to watch that happen next year. Diggs and
I
that's
need
what
more medical information
yeah.
on AJ Brown.
Knees.
But
all these reports about the knees. I don't know if this is from other teams that are trying to like lessen the trade,
Right.
Yeah.
package that would have to give up, or if this is truly
or maybe his own agent doing it because he wants to get traded.
Right.
And but I heard now, I don't know who reported this first, but after all the bluster with the Eagles, now a second will get it done.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
Right.
reported that, and is there any validity?
Well,
to
I
it?
think that the reporting out of the combine was that the framework is looking a lot like either the DK Metcalf trade last year or the Diggs from Buffalo to Houston trade two off seasons ago,
Yeah.
which was a second and a fifth for Diggs.
Would you?
Yeah, I think I would, but I think the question to Paul's like about his knees and stuff like that is like last year the tape wasn't as good, and is that because he's disgruntled?
And he
Is
has
that
more money?
Is that because he's slowing down? Like that's something that somebody like the Patriots are going to have to sift through and decide where they land on, because there's a lot of reasons why. Is he just Randy Moss in Oakland and he just feels like he's kind of wasting away in this offense that doesn't really use him and doesn't really feature him the right way, so he's kind of moping and he's not really, going all out, or what was the
So if the
reason for
Eagles
that?
would say no to the Patriots' second because it's the 31st, would you tell the Eagles, listen, we'll give you a 27 second and a third instead of this second and a fourth? A third this year, a second next year.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Yeah.
For me, if it was me,
Aldrin would give him everything.
and Evan, you gonna laugh at me?
Oh God.
On the 31st, I'm getting Chris Marcelli. That's what I'm getting. Right. That's what I'm getting.
This guy.
Because that gives
Razzle
him a
Brothers.
chance. Yes, because he blocks. He's 6'5". He blocks, and he also runs, like I said, different routes, and 4.37. 40, and everything was pretty good during the combine. But they got him taking second round in the 55 San Diego. Unless they get the edge and then move up. But I don't trust Wolfen getting wide receivers for the last 5 years.
All right.
That's what I'm looking at. All right.
All right, Eldred. Thank you.
So the A.J. Brown trade thing, to me, kind of made me chuckle because when everybody comes back, when all you guys come back from the combine, there's a lot of...
This is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, scuttlebutt.
there's a lot of what I'm hearing,
Scuttlebutt.
right? Well, what I heard from reading a lot of these recaps of what I'm hearing is the same phraseology. The Eagles are unserious about trading A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
To which I say, according to who? So, in other words, they're looking for more than you're willing to give them, so they're unserious about trading him. Now, I have no doubt that the Eagles do not want to trade A.J. Brown. They've dealt with him for going on 3 seasons. They obviously think he's a big part of their team, that they feel they're able to win with this guy sometimes being disgruntled. So they don't want to trade him. I agree with that, but why are they unserious if they don't want to just give him away?
Yeah.
And the fact that it was 3 different...
That's the way I took it, was
3 different dispatches had the same exact phraseology, unserious about trading the player, which tells me, to Evan's point, we're all at, what's it, Prime 49? Prime 47? Prime 47. And, we're all sitting around having a good old time. They're unserious about that.
So remember when the Patriots... Remember when there was rumor...
Yeah.
Remember when there was rumors, I think it was about Schefter, rumors about Garoppolo.
Yeah, they wouldn't trade 4 first-rounders.
4 first-round picks.
Yeah.
If that's what they were asking for, they were unserious about trading Jimmy Garoppolo.
And if the Eagles are saying, I want a first-round pick, and no one's willing to give more than a second, is that being unserious about wanting to trade him? Or is that asking for more than you're willing to give up?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't be serious.
Now, if you're saying that the Eagles are looking for the Max Crosby thing, which is what reportedly 2 firsts and a good young player, now the A.J. Brown shouldn't be getting that kind of a deal. Right. Maybe that could be a little bit more perceived as being unserious, but just because someone's not willing to just give you their player doesn't mean they're unserious about trading.
Well, that's the way that I took it from the combine stuff, was that, the Eagles will listen to your phone calls on A.J. Brown.
But
And
they're not going to give them to you.
If you want to offer 2 first-round picks, then, they'll probably make that trade, but they're not going to. They're not in a business of giving away good players, as Howie Roseman said at the combine. If you come in here and you blow us away with an offer, then, we'll listen, but we're not going to just hand you one of our best players.
It's all a negotiation, right? I mean, that's what it is. That's where it starts out.
And then it immediately, devolves into, these dumb teams. They don't know they don't know how to make these plays. No, the Eagles have been a pretty well-run organization in recent years. They've won a lot of games. I don't necessarily think their head coach is the greatest coach that I've ever seen, but Nick Sirianni has won a lot of games, and their personnel department, from the GM on down, obviously knows what it's doing because they have a lot of good players.
I mean, he's gone to Super Bowls now twice with 2 different coaches, 2 different quarterbacks. Howie Roseman was the GM of the team that beat the Patriots in 2017, and now he's the team that just rebuilt the Eagles and made it back to another Super Bowl. That's the other thing that worries me about A.J. Brown. Is if it comes across that they ended up trading him for the Diggs package, it's what does Howie know? Why is Howie Roseman trading away one of their best players for a 2nd-round pick? It's at the end of the round. that to me would be like a little bit
Yeah.
alarming.
Trading with Howie Roseman, I would immediately be like check my back pocket and see if my wallet was still there. And
It's
stuff.
kind of like how teams talk about trading with like Sam Presti in the NBA. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like,
Who's he work for?
The Thunder. The Thunder
Okay,
general
see,
manager.
it's basketball.
Yeah,
man.
like
that's why
like
NBA is
I heard that.
basketball.
It's kind of
They
just
get
like
orange ball.
when he calls, like you get nervous. Like you're like, what does he want? You know, like I feel like that's the way with
Yeah.
Howie Roseman now.
Williams and Phillum, what's up, William?
Hey, Fred, how you doing?
All right, where you been?
Where you been, man?
Working. I'm good. I'm here.
All right.
I'm here, man. I'm here. But I told you, I'm always listening, no matter what.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna try and make this short and brief. I'm just gonna say two things. Evan, I don't like the news that I'm hearing about the wide receivers. That's BS, and I'm gonna leave it like that. The guy named Malachi Fields, that's who the Patriots was looking at. He was at the combine. He ran a 4.64.
Who said they were looking at him?
Hell no. I don't even want to get into that. I don't want to get into it. And last but not least, I'll leave this one. I'm with Eldridge too, okay? Because the main person that's been a scapegoat in all this, Mr. Elliott Wolf. I don't trust you in terms of receivers. I don't trust you on tight end. You can't draft yet. The jury is still out on you, brother. You know what I mean? So we watching you. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. Good day, gentlemen. You have a good one, and I'm always listening.
All right, Willem. Thank you.
Like, has he tried to draft a tight end yet? I don't know.
No, he said wide receiver doesn't trust that.
I thought he said tight ends.
Yeah,
and
I feel
wide
like,
receivers, didn't trust him.
and you know, I get it. I'm not trying to like run cover for Elliott Wolf, but I feel like he's getting blamed a lot for things that Bill did that like he wasn't even here for.
Yeah.
Like he was not here when they drafted N'Keal Harry. So like I don't, you know, Taekwon, okay, like I'll give you that one, but like, you know, you're saying their history with wide receivers, like he's been here for the last 20 years drafting
Polk, too.
all these receivers, like, yeah, sure, you know, but like, I don't know, like I feel like it always comes back to N'Keal Harry, and it's like, well, that wasn't him, so it's not hold it against.
And
him
again, we don't know what that draft process really was when Bill was here. Like what, you know, did Elliott really have the luxury of saying this is who we're taking?
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, was it in Indy that he said what are the biggest mistakes that you see teams make? Not listening to the scouts.
Yeah.
I think what he said. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
take
the
from that
wide
what you
receivers
will,
are different because I think there was some examples of busts with Bill, without Bill, before Vrabel, like whatever. But the tight end thing, to Mike's point, if we're talking about tight ends, they really haven't done that recently.
Yeah, 2020 with Keenan Asiasi.
And they've double dipped in the past with Belichick, but that doesn't mean that's something that they're looking to do now. You know, I keep saying, like, let's see what Mike Vrabel does. You know, we'll figure out in due time. Oh, that's not really a Mike Vrabel type move.
Right.
We don't know what his moves are really yet.
No.
I think we have a good feel for Mike Vrabel type players.
Sure. Yeah.
And like more specifically, like scheme fits, like what, you know, I was looking at some of these mock drafts that have Zion Young from Missouri.
So bring him up. But I think Barth went with him. Right?
And I think he's a talented guy, but like it's like 265, 270. Like he reminds me just from a body type skill. It's like Keon White, and so you've already tried that, right? Like you too heavy, too big, not good enough outside the tackle. Like the guy, I think we kind of know that now. You know, like who's a fit in terms of like the style that they play, their body type, like that sort of thing.
Do you feel like with edge they would be willing to go smaller and not as long, but for get off and
like
pass
I think
rush ability?
The way I look at it with edge is like, isn't Harold Landry his guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like that he drafted him in Tennessee. He's kept him his whole career. Like that's sort of what he looks for. That's 6'2", 6'3", 250, 255. Like length is a little bit of an issue with Landry, but he has the explosiveness in the bend that makes up for it, so he's cool with it. Like that's why I keep coming back to Cassius Howell, because I feel like he's just Harold Landry.
Yeah.
Like literally just Harold Landry. So like that's the type of guy, you know, Chase on. Like 6'3", 255, like
ish. Yeah.
Brandon Swittenson, 6'3", 255.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ponder's 260, so that's like maybe the high end of it, but he's got the speed and he's got the ability to win with speed off the edge. So like that's clearly their type of guy at that position. And that goes back to him, you know, in Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
Barton Poland, Shefty is saying that the Vikings are willing to trade Jonathan Greenard. Give me that every day of the week. 28, reasonable contract, high production player, and the trade compensation for sure would be much lower than Crosby.
Yeah, he was a beast out there.
Yeah, poor Will
in
Campbell.
Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's another one of these guys, 250,
sure.
255, like fits their mold. You know, I just don't know if I'm giving up a ton of draft picks in a year like this for edge rushers. There's a lot of guys that don't come with draft capital compensation in free agency and in the draft that you can get for nothing.
No.
So, like, how much are you really going to give up for a guy like Greenard who's not Max Crosby? Like,
Because he's known. He's a known commodity. You know what you're getting.
Sure, but you know what you're getting with the guys in free agency, too, and those guys are free. Yeah, it's just money.
Yeah, but there's a reason why they're in free agency. And with the draft, you really don't know for sure what you're getting.
Well, why isn't there a reason why?
No, I always look at it like
Grenard's available.
And for a trade.
Right.
Right.
But there's a reason why Minnesota's looking to, move on from him.
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's the same as free agent. Now, Crosby, I would put in a different package because the Raiders clearly do not want to move on from him.
It's not the same as free agent.
No, but like they don't want to trade him. If they end up trading Crosby, it's because they feel like they had to.
Yeah,
like he forced their hand and he wanted out.
Right. Yeah. But it's not the same as free agent. Free agent, you let a guy get to free agency.
I think it's very similar with Grenard and free agents. If Minnesota's just looking to move on. Now, if I don't know the details of this. I didn't read the Schefter post. Maybe it's the same kind of deal. Grenard just wants to move on. He wants to be out of there, and Minnesota's accommodating him.
Right.
Then I would say that's more like Crosby.
Yeah.
But if Minnesota's, maybe
so Schefter's, he's kind of speculating that it's a salary cap.
Yeah. If that's it,
they would like to keep him, but he has a big contract and they're up against it salary cap wise, and if they get the right compensation.
If they wanted to keep him, they could keep him.
Correct.
Right.
And that's why I think it's very similar to a free agent. If Owe or Mafe, these got Kwity Paye, these guys are all, reasonably talented players.
Yep.
That their teams would very easily be able to retain if they wanted to.
That's my point, is like this is a deep market for edge rushers, especially if you start counting all the guys that might get traded. Like deep free agency class, extremely deep draft. So like if you're like Grenard's a good player, but like are you going to go out and offer one of your first or second round pick for him when you can just
that could be a new edge,
right? That's cheaper, younger, all the things that Vrabel said. Like I don't know if I would do that.
But I get the asset and the money. Like you don't want to do both if you don't have to.
Sure.
But a lot of times, like the way I look at it is, you need that position, and is this guy going to be better than who you would use that draft pick for? And if the answer is probably yes, then it's worth doing. It's worth giving up the draft pick and paying an established guy the money and losing that pick, because now we've got somebody we know that's going to be plug and play.
And if it's a second rounder or later, probably a harder player to project his ceiling.
Yeah.
Whereas if I could say confidently he'll be better than Greener, maybe not in rookie year, but in a couple of years, it's a little bit easier on that decision. But it's really hard.
How do you know that?
How do you know? It's really hard to know, and that's why it's hard to make decisions on these kinds of things. It's not easy to just be a professional general manager and know the right move, but there's a million things that go on. Bill used to say about, the guy is at this level now and this guy is at this level, but we project in 2 years this guy is going to be here while this guy is going to be coming on the other way around.
Yep.
So the second round pick, to Evan's point, in a deep edge class might not be as good as Jonathan Grenard right now.
Yeah.
But maybe in 27 he's better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in 28 he's better.
Maybe.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
I just wonder too, like how does this help impact the trade market for edge rushers with this draft class? Because we were there for all week. Everybody, just edge class is unbelievable. Edge class is unbelievable. So, like, if you're in the market for edge rushers, are you going to go out and pay a free agent a ton of money? Or are you going to go trade 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby when you can just draft David Bailey, right? Like, where's that sort of fall into this thing as well, I think is interesting, because sometimes, the draft can water down the market where teams are like, well, I don't need to give up a first round pick for Jonathan Grenard because I'm just going to draft 2 guys and we'll recreate them.
We'll force them to wait till after the draft, and then maybe you don't get your guy, or then
Yeah.
the needs are still there.
Rick in Riverside, Rhode Island.
It's a lot of R's.
Yeah, a lot of alliteration there. What would be an under-the-radar move that wouldn't totally surprise you? Can you see an established Patriot player being traded?
I could. And I mean, I was actually just thinking, I mean, usually I look at just who are the free agents next year. You know, guys who, a contract easy to move. I mean, just running down the list. Booty, Henry, Douglas, Onwenu, Hollins, Bradbury, Ellis, Behringer, Jennings, Dobbs. Mapu, Farms, and Pettis. Those are the group. I mean, I could see one of those guys. I mean, to me, it goes back to, and I've neglected to add Hollins to the list. So next year at wide receiver, you're going to have Booty, Douglas, and Hollins all up. They need to get better at the wide receiver position. I just think that if they go into next year trying to run it back with essentially the same group, and I don't even know if I'm going to be happy with just a rookie. Like, even if you just plug, well, now we got Casey Concepcion, okay, but at the same time, that better be.
Would you feel better if they ran it back with wide receiver, if they noticeably, at least on paper, got better at offensive line?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I think
How much
a
better-
guy like Casey Concepcion's in a little bit of a different tier.
Yeah.
Like, if you're taking a player like that, like, he's really good. Like, you're expecting that guy to come in and make an instant impact as a first-round pick. If you told me that all they're going to do is draft another Kyle Williams in the third round, then I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that is like, no, that's not enough. But if they go out and, like, they kind of fill their other needs in free agency and they kind of clear the deck to take a receiver in the first round, and it's Boston or Concepcion or one of those types of guys, I'm going to be like, yeah, that guy's a dude.
How do you feel about Boston?
Like, for specifically in the prism of Drake May, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, because of the ability to win the ball down the field and the contested catch ability. It's not usually my cup of tea, but, like, you see on film of him just, like, taking balls off guys' heads and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, well, that's, like, Drake May's going to love that.
Yeah.
Like, you just throw it anywhere near this guy, like 25, 30 yards down the field, and he's going to catch it. Like, I'll take my chance.
I like him.
Drake May's development, because, everybody looks, look at how much better he got in year 2, right? And I think now people kind of looking at that as a finished product. Well, you better hope it's not a finished product. You better hope that he gets a lot better too. So maybe I want to get better at wide receiver. I think I was the only one. I think everybody had edge rusher. And I totally agree that edge rusher is a major need. I want to see help on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal need, to me, is a weapon for Drake May.
Yeah.
I think they need to get something. Now, it might not line up. I'm not saying that they're
You got
failing.
Pop Douglas.
I'm not saying they're failing on that argument, by the way. I'm not saying they're failing if they don't take a first-round wide receiver at 31. Like,
Right.
31 is hard to say, like, they need to take this position. Like, you never know how it's going to unfold, who's available. The value just may not be there. But I think they need to better than they have. If, to your point, Deuce, running it back, they might be better doing that because Drake might be that much better and be able to do a little bit more with the same group. But I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
I think they need to be better.
No, I liked what Evan said, and I think the position I do feel okay about is, like I said, the developmental right tackle. If you could maybe get that in round 2 or 3, I like having that as part of it. But you can see there's going to be major turnover at the wide receiver position next year, whether you want to keep these guys or not. You got to be prepared for that.
Kyle and Pembroke, I keep hearing tackles a need, but what do you guys think of Marcus Bryant? He has the size and a year under his belt. I think he could be a potential replacement for Moses.
If Thurston Howell III didn't bump him down the list,
Thayer Munford?
That's what I meant.
I knew what he meant.
It wasn't on the tip of my tongue, but I was a little, I would have been excited if he had worked his way into that third tackle role, and and clearly they didn't trust him yet. They went out and got another guy, and
we're not seriously going to sit there and say a 7th round pick is the answer, right? Now, I'm not telling you it can't be, but like the email, like based on what? Based on what? Based on what that you saw?
He is huge.
No, the guy looks like he was built in a tackle factory. He looks exactly the way you would think a tackle should look.
He looks like Morgan Moses 10 years ago.
And he was picked in the 7th round.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
why?
And he's a tackle.
Now, maybe he's going to be one of these guys. The NFL's littered with really good offensive linemen that were day 3 picks. So I'm not telling you it's impossible. If there's a position that it can happen, it's offensive line. It probably happens at that spot more than any other. But I don't know. I don't know how I can just sit there and say, well,
it's hard when you saw no
we don't have to
signs.
worry about
Yeah,
it. We got Marcus Bryant.
No evidence to go off of that they are excited. I mean, maybe they are, but based on the play time this year, there's no evidence that they're excited or have a future.
You nailed it, Deuce. I mean, like the fact that he couldn't become the jumbo tight end and the 6th offensive lineman, and
when he was building the tackle factory,
there Mumford was doing that. Like that's disappointing. Like if he was gonna, that's exactly how you break a young guy in that's not ready to start, but is ready to have a role. You know, Nate Solder. Like that's exactly what you do.
Dan in Virginia and Michigan, regarding Paul's lament about fans concerning themselves with the salary cap, I'm not one of those people, but I'm wondering if fans questioning a player's salary cap number is a holdover from Belichick. During Bill's tenure as head coach, we got used to his focus on value in players getting cut or traded because their contract numbers were creeping up. So salary cap numbers were often part of the offseason discussion. I don't know, just a theory.
No,
that's a good point.
I agree with Dan, as that's why people do it. But what I want to know is, at what point do you look at that and say that that was wrong?
Yeah, I know they used to
cost
have
themselves potential championships by doing things like this.
They used to have a formula of it was percentage of the cap that a person had.
Yeah.
You know, you had to be a certain level of player to take up a certain percentage of the cap.
Yeah, most teams do it by percentage of cap and not just the raw number.
Right.
It makes the most sense. But I think the difference is like just to maybe make the case on the other side is like if you have earmarked $26 million for Stephon Diggs, we all know it's really cash, right? So like if they're spending that $26 million on Stephon Diggs, they don't have that $26 million to go spend on somebody else. So is there a better way to spend the $26 million? And I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying, like, if that's the way you're looking at it, it's not. The cap space is Fugazi.
No,
like,
no,
that's
no.
not
I'm
the
talking.
real-
That's what my whole point. It's money. I get it, and again, I'll say I understand why Robert Kraft cares about it, but I don't understand why like fans care about it.
I'm actually no. I don't
it
even think
doesn't-
Robert
They
Kraft
love
cares about
but
it.
they love playing GM
because but it doesn't really work that. So okay, I think it's $20 million that Diggs would earn next year. His cap number is bigger than that, but his salary I think is $20 million, 20.6 or something like that. So if you don't give that to him, you let him go. Oh, and that's $20 million we have to spend on who?
Yeah, that's.
I
Totally
need someone
fair.
who's better than him to substantiate that. And I don't necessarily think you just automatically get better. Now, if you're going to tell me, well, I'm going to let him go because I'm going to make a big run at Alec Pierce, and he's going to cost more than that. Okay, now I can talk about that. I think he's a younger guy. I think he's a totally different player, obviously. Maybe I can talk myself into that. I can be better, and I can use those resources better. But the whole idea of I want Diggs back because I really like the player, but not at $20 million. It's got to be at 16. I don't get that. I'll never get it, and people are infatuated with it.
I like his bigger point, though, about things that over 20 years you kind of just got lulled into thinking was the best way to do it because that was the way Bill was doing it, and the Patriots were having success for the great majority of those 20 years. But as you get away from it, and I mean, just to use the most basic example of the coach acknowledging your existence.
I guess the biggest thing that I'm sort of confused by is how people haven't figured out that that's not why they won yet. I don't know how many years are going to go by before you realize when they used to tell you that was why they won and you bought it, at some point did you stop believing in Santa Claus? They won because of Tom Brady and the other good players that they had to go along with them. Oh, and by the way, Bill Belichick was one of the best, if not the very best coaches that has done it.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they nickel and dimed everybody.
Right.
Yeah, there's some maybe truth to like the sustainability aspect of it in terms of like they were really good in the heyday of like staying ahead of roster problems. Like they'd never, until the end, they didn't get like caught with their pants down at big positions, like drafting Nate Solder because you knew Matt Light was running out of time. Now they were in a luxury of being able to do something like that because their roster was pretty stacked everywhere.
At least a quarterback.
Those were the types of things that they were.
Thank you.
They did that isn't necessarily money.
Yeah.
But I think is like a lot of teams, like Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like Kansas City traded Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Because they said we are going to spread that resources around now that Mahomes is extensions kicking in.
It's the same thing.
We're gonna use that money.
And I would
those
criticize
resources
Kansas
elsewhere.
City the same way because you didn't want to pay the money. And I'm not even talking about Tyreek Hill. I'm talking about the state of their roster. Because they had a quarterback who was so good and made them so relevant no matter what they had around him until it finally wasn't good enough. So think of this past year for Kansas City like, say, 19 for the Patriots.
Yeah.
When suddenly he just isn't good enough to win all by himself anymore the way he did for 10 years, and you let it deteriorate to this point. And to Evan's point, it was always these quality drafts that Bill would have, and he would have Hightower and Jones and Collins and Solder, and he'd have these guys ready to go until all of a sudden he didn't.
Yeah.
Till all of a sudden it was Malcolm Brown and Dominique Easley, and now all of a sudden we don't have any replacements left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking about Paul, and to your point, they didn't draft well, I don't think, in 2006, 2007, 2008, and then you got to 2009, and they kind of were caught at the defensive end position when you're going out to get Derek Burgess off the scrap heap just to find pass rush. And then to your point, 10, you get some guys, Ninkovich emerges, and all of a sudden by 2014, you got...
was a 2025 Bills-Chiefs reset for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like the Bills, the 2009 Patriots were able to make the playoffs and not do anything when they got there.
Nothing.
The Chiefs obviously weren't even that successful. But it happens. Even when you're really good, I mean, everybody has a budget. I don't dismiss the money, because everybody has a budget. There's nobody that runs any business that says money is no object. We can just burn it all that we want.
The Eagles might do it that way.
I mean, usually in football, I would say like the Los Angeles Dodgers do it that way.
Yeah,
they seemingly have no budget. Now they defer all the money, and someday they're going to have to pay it all. But
for now, they're living.
It works.
Dan in Virginia and Michigan also said, Fred, regarding your recent questioning about whether there's been a sports person who won big without having that fierce competitive fire, what about Bjorn Borg? Not really familiar with him, but he seemed to be at the top of the game. In my impression, is that he was always a low-key, quiet personality. He was low-key, but he was very, very competitive.
Yeah,
and he also quit at 24. So.
Right, because he lost.
Yeah, right.
Which was kind of like just
really?
destroyed the whole thing for
24?
me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he
Wow,
retired. He retired early because he suddenly lost to McEnroe.
Yeah. Well, he started losing.
That's what I'm saying. He couldn't beat McEnroe,
Yeah.
and he's like,
How many times do you think he lost to McEnroe?
I think they had he beat him early on, and then he started losing. I don't know what the final tally was, but
yeah, I don't think Fred's point is low key personality, quiet. You don't have to be outwardly fiery to be insanely competitive.
Yeah.
And I think Borg was pretty competitive, and then all of a sudden he lost it.
I read his book and I read Agassi's book. Borg's book was blah, very vanilla. Agassi's book was outstanding.
I read Agassi's book. Yeah,
it was
really
outstanding.
Cool. Yeah. They were 7-7 head to
7-7?
head all time.
Yeah, but what were the last?
McEnroe
last
winning
four?
the 80 and 81 U.S. Opens and 81 Wimbledon, while Borg won the 80 Wimbledon final. So I think McEnroe was 3-1 in the Grand Slam final.
Yeah, Borg won 5 Wimbledons in a row, and then he finally lost to McEnroe in that epic match. And then I think shortly thereafter he called it quits for a while.
What was the original question? A sports figure who
We were just talking about Drake
I thought
May.
about this a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think football is harder to find them. Really easy in basketball. Like really easy. Like those guys, like Kevin Durant, even LeBron to an extent is kind of not. That was always kind of the big knock on him, is that he wasn't wired like Jordan or Kobe or one of those killers. I've talked about Jokic before. Jokic would rather ride his horses. And
did you see Jokic get in that fight the other night?
Yeah,
did you see that look in his eyes?
Guys
kind of frightened me.
Doesn't care.
Do you see that? Do you guys see that competitive shine through in hockey? I get what you're saying in basketball. It seems like a great disparity. There's certain guys
Steph Curry's the nicest guy on the
right,
planet.
and then, but there are also guys in the NBA that are like Kobe.
Right.
So, but hockey, I have trouble thinking of guys that stand out for their competitiveness. Not to say that there aren't. I don't. With football, it's like I think about how competitive Tom Brady was, and I saw that firsthand, and annoying competitive. And I don't really ever remember getting that vibe with hockey. I don't know. Different.
Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan said 2 words his entire career. and was one of the best players of his era. Like there's all sorts of guys like that in the NBA, but
Yeah.
that's one of those kinds of sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zach and the Ranch. I've been listening for a long time, and I heard a lot of stories about Paul's youth, from occasional fights to his success with the ladies. I'm picturing young Paul partying while wearing a disco shirt and a Coke spoon around his neck.
That's Fred.
Yeah. And then a couple of weeks ago, we learned that Paul lived at home until his mid-20s. Now I can't stop cracking up at the idea of young Paul going out drinking with his friends, getting into a bar fight, doing a bump of cocaine, then bringing a lady back to his childhood bedroom. I can even imagine his mother cooking them both breakfast in the morning.
Did that happen, Paul?
That's way off.
That's way off.
That's way off.
I would love to
and by
know
the
it.
way, never did a drug in my life.
Yeah, no, that's
Not even a single one.
Tylenol?
Never, not once.
Well,
I know what you mean.
illegal drugs.
Illegal, illicit.
Recreational.
Yeah.
I want.
wish I could say the same thing.
Paul, like peak Paul at the combine. I want to know what that was like because
I saw him in his your final days there. Was that the last one you went
But,
to?
like,
Was
when his-
2019.
when his
my
prime,
first
you
one.
know?
Your last one. Did you go again?
No, I think we went.
We went one more
a
time.
few times.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, we told the story about the open bar stuff, but it was, I don't know, it was just different. It was fun.
Did you guys read this story? I thought it was interesting when I read it the first time about why they run the 40 at the combine.
Yes, and poor Barth has brought this up for the entire time him and I have been doing shows together, and then somebody tagged us in a tweet did you know this? I'm like, he literally
I'll read it. It's short.
What is it? Brings this up.
It's short. So, do you know why we run the 40?
Yes.
Not 10, not 100, but 40. Before we had a draft, teams would just sign college All-Americans. The small school kids might be able to play, but how do we standardize how fast they are? Paul Brown estimated that on average, a punt travels from foot to a receiver's hand about 40 yards in about 4.5 seconds. It's a punt gunner drill. Gil Brandt took it from him, and when the first ever scouts went to find talent, that is what they were looking for. When we opened the combine in 1982, we made these kids run the 40 to standardize the test.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's a consistent catch-22 joke. That Barth
Makes
is
a
just,
lot of sense.
Hey, do you know why they run the 40? I'm like, yeah.
I do.
Is that why Barth is so infatuated with special teams?
It all goes back to special teams, doesn't it?
Maybe. I don't think there was any specialists that participated this year, which was disappointing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you get a kicker.
Was
or
it disappointing?
A kicker or a punter that can kind of fly, and it's like, wow, that punter can run a 4.6. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Did Barth go to the combine?
He did not.
Oh,
no.
Missed
what
opportunity.
a shame.
It's his Super Bowl.
It must have been Sports Hub was probably too low draft pick this year.
Yeah.
Like when the fourth overall.
Well,
we'll
he was
send
also
him
at the
anyway.
Super Bowl for 8 days, so the budget
over budget,
and he got sick.
He's fine.
But I'm surprised he didn't say, "Look, I'll pay my own way and stay with Evan."
I made the offer. Told him there's always a room on the floor, not
the bed open.
No bed. But
You guys wouldn't share a bed?
no.
What's wrong? You get a king. There's plenty of room.
No, absolutely
Oh,
not.
Mike was on the other side.
There were, I did have.
No, that's with Kellen.
Those aren't pillows.
I did have two. I'll leave it at that.
Let's see. Brendan in Edmonton. Get ready for the insert player here. Has gained 20 pounds of muscle and is in the best shape of his life. Tropes coming this offseason after Vrabel challenged players to get stronger. Based on what
redistributing the weight.
Based on what we've seen, is the team committing to any uniform combination for the upcoming season? The looks maxing of the blue and silver and white on white seem to mog the opponents in 2025. He's using a lot of words I don't understand. Looks maxing and mog.
I've been hearing this mog world.
What does mog mean?
I don't know. It just has come across.
Dominate? Does it mean dominate?
Yeah, it's kind of so Kyle Hamilton had a tweet where he was frame mobbed.
Right, that's what.
Because
yeah.
it was they did a still frame of comparing him to another.
Oh.
And it kind of dissed Kyle Hamilton, like he was worse than the other guys.
So this
that
is
got
a
mobbed.
slang term for overwhelmingly outshining, dominating,
Yeah.
or looking much better than someone else in terms of appearance,
Yeah.
fitness, or social status.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job, Bev.
Yeah.
That was a reasonably good
Yeah.
explanation.
I'm glad I looked that out.
Good. All right.
I'm not really a fan of it. Like, been hearing it a lot lately, and I'm like,
But
I don't know.
there are no new color combinations that I've heard of for uniforms coming up this year.
No. It seemed like they want
Will they ever wear the white on white after the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they will. I mean,
They had a great record in it.
They did. That's why they
until
went there.
didn't. But,
That's why they went there.
Didn't they have a great record in all
Everything.
their uniforms?
Yeah,
this year?
and
They only lost 3
Stop
games.
it.
they never lost on the road.
Semantics.
But
Right?
it seemed like they liked the blue on gray more. It seemed like we got that a lot more. Did we see the blueberries again after like?
I thought they wore them
Like,
I thought we in the
maybe
Ravens
more
game.
time.
Bills
Didn't they wear
at Bills.
blue on blue at Ravens, Baltimore?
I think they wore them one more time. I can't remember which
I know
game
it was the
was.
Bills. Because the Bills wore their.
Or maybe the
Yeah.
Bills. Yeah, it might have been the
their,
Bills.
But
rivalry
I agree that the blue on blue seems to be dead for the
Yeah.
most part.
So they wore blue on blue that night at Buffalo.
Yeah, because they
best
were in
win
a
of the
white
season.
out. Yeah.
Can't do that again.
Right.
They look terrible.
I don't really like the uniform.
Ford in Savannah, Georgia. I love the idea in internet reports of pairing Diggs with Brown. The one thing I don't understand is the said report saying Diggs needs to restructure his contract in order to make it happen. Can you explain that? I kind of think it's a little bit of BS. It's like if you like A.J. Brown, just effing get him. Why would you play with Diggs' contract? Aren't there other ways? His contract isn't even that big.
I agree.
Was it? I mean, am I wrong? Isn't it more about the cash and like it's like a high cap, low cash situation where they need to switch it to give him more cash and maybe potentially lower the cap? Am I misunderstanding
I
that?
don't know.
I think it'd be
No.
difficult to do that.
They don't
though.
want to pay him. I mean, if they didn't want to do it, they don't want to pay him $20 million.
But
That's
the
what his
proverbial
salary
they,
is.
Like I don't know who they is. Like everybody's
Right.
just kind of assuming the Patriots don't want to do that, and nobody from the Patriots has really said that.
Well, I'm just
So-
going off of the unserious intentions to trade A.J.
Yeah.
Brown. The same kind of recaps have all included variations of restructuring Diggs' contract. So I assume it's coming from some people within the Patriots.
You do wonder if, like, you know, it was a kind of a 1-year commitment.
Yeah.
To Diggs, and so for both sides, like if you're Diggs, don't you make the case like I was just your best receiver? I just had 1,000 yards coming off a torn ACL. I was, you know, double teaming me in the playoffs. Like what would you guys have been last year without me? And then the Patriots can look at it and say you're a 33-year-old receiver with the bum knee. Like, you know, which
Coming
way is
off a
this-
very disappointing stretch drive.
right.
Let's see. Anthony has a tight end plan. He says it's easy. Keep Hunter Henry, sign Kohler, draft one of the pass-catching tight ends. If the edge and tight end draft class is as deep as we think it is, then we can easily draft tight end at 31 and edge in the second round or vice versa.
Well,
Let's
there's
not
nobody-
reinvent
Sadiq. I don't think
There's
he's
nobody
31.
at 31 at tight end unless Sadiq falls, which is not going to happen after the combine, I don't think. But, you know, the tight end sweet spot's going to be probably the mid to end of second round into the fourth and fifth round, like that. Like there's like probably like 10 guys within that cluster that are all going to go. I think Stowers will probably be the first one out of that group, and then it will kind of fall in line from there. But yeah, nobody at 31. There's kind of a donut, as Deuce likes to say, between where Sadiq is going to go and then where the run is going to start.
Garrett, he has his plan for the line. He says, my hope for this offseason is to sign a veteran left guard and draft a young right tackle to learn from Moses for a year. Looking ahead to the 27th season, if Campbell doesn't work out, you only have to worry about left tackle because you already drafted your right tackle in 26.
Yeah.
No, on paper that makes sense. I do think only is, as Evan just kind of alluded, that's a big what if.
You only have to worry about the most important position on the line, but other than that,
right.
It seems like we're all in agreement, and I think it's relatively straightforward to add a left guard with some experience and draft a right tackle that has some developmental
I like the
upside.
plan.
I don't
I like
think
the
you
plan.
really need to reinvent the wheel beyond that this year. If Campbell flops again, then we have that conversation. But assuming that he goes back to the way he was playing pre-knee injury,
Right.
I think he's going to be fine.
Well, then the issue becomes how much are you paying this veteran left guard, and is he removable if you do want to slide Campbell over to that left guard spot, or do you now have a guy making a lot of money that's already there that, you know, I mean,
That's
maybe
kind of
when
why
he
I've,
leaves, then you slide him around, but
That's why I've kind of gravitated maybe a little bit towards Batonio, because like that's a 1 year, like they
Yeah.
did this with like Brian Waters, right? Where they would
Yeah.
just like would bring in like for 1 year
That's a good one.
of like a super vet, and it's kind of what they tried to do with Morgan Moses and Bradbury. Like, can you do that with Batonio for a year and then maybe draft another guard in the middle rounds as like throw him in with Wilson and, you know, some of the guys you're trying to develop, And then maybe in 27, you're handing the job over to a second-year player or something like that.
Tyler in Ludlaw needs an updated PU shirt. Yeah, so he has a trivia game for Paul. He says there are 7 players that have won Super Bowl MVP but never were voted to a Pro Bowl. 6 of those players have ties to the Patriots, as they have either played for the Patriots at some point in their career or they beat the Patriots in the playoffs the year they won MVP. Who are those players? Wow.
Nick Foles.
Deion Branch.
Nick Foles is not one
Nick
of them.
Foles, I believe, was a Pro Bowler.
Oh, God.
Deion Branch is correct.
Deion Branch, okay. Ties to the Patriots? 6 guys with ties to
Either
the Patriots.
beat them or was played with them.
Huh.
I'll get, yeah. Only 2 of them actually played with them out of the 6.
So, yeah, I'm having a hard time.
Jim Plunkett.
Okay.
Super Bowl 15. Desmond Howard.
Okay.
31.
Yeah, I should have gotten that one.
You got Branch. Joe Flacco.
Jesus, Paul.
Joe Flacco was never at the Pro Bowl.
Maybe not first ballot.
guess
He
not.
was literally at the Pro Bowl, I think, like 2 weeks ago.
And
Says
wait a minute.
Never voted to a Pro Bowl.
No, but
Maybe
so
not
what does
Pro
that have to do with the Patriots?
He played with the Patriots at one time.
Joe Flacco?
Oh, Flacco. He said he beat them in the playoffs.
Oh,
yeah.
Forget it.
The year they won the MVP.
I thought we were just doing like the Super Bowls.
Oh,
I'm not
Joe-
going to go on every single team that they ever
He was
lost
like a
to.
17th alternate, but Joe
Yeah.
Flacco was just in the Pro Bowl.
No, but I'm not counting
Right.
that. I thought there would have been a year like,
No.
quote unquote, in his prime where
Well,
he was
in the AFC
He was a
with
Pro Bowler.
Brady.
Yeah,
Man,
Julian Edelman
That's true.
was the other one, and Kenneth Walker III was the final one.
Oh, Kenneth Walker.
Malcolm Smith won
Julian
MVP.
Edelman never went to the Pro Bowl.
I don't think so.
Wow. Flacco.
Interesting.
25
He's-
is his first Pro Bowl.
He's even more overrated than I thought.
Okay. A tough question. So you get your T-shirt.
That's
Alex.
It's a very good question.
Make sure you get that email. Get him a T-shirt.
That's a very good question. Not just because I didn't know it. that's a good.
Well, I was surprised you missed Desmond Howard, who
Desmond
ripped your heart
Howard,
out.
I should have gotten
I can't believe
Desmond
he didn't
Howard.
make it
I
as a
know.
returner.
Mm.
Like, he never
Yeah.
made, like,
I should have gotten Desmond Howard.
I would have thought he made it.
All
as
right.
special.
Well, listen.
We're going to cut
It's
it
been
short
nice,
today.
but that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. I got to figure out why I mixed up zucchini and eggplant, but I did. Eggplant parm. Overrated. Overrated. Why would you get eggplant parm? Unless you're a vegetarian, then I can understand. But if you can get chicken parm, veal parm, or eggplant parm, you got to have the meat.
Which one would be your choice?
Veal.
Veal, absolutely.
100%.
So good.
All day, every day.
So good.
Yeah.
What?
I don't think I've had veal parm ever. I don't.
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
really good, but
I'm
like,
sure. Well,
it's
fried,
like baby
a piece of
cows,
fried
so,
meat. Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah.
They gotta kill them, Evan. The farm. They don't need all these male
As
cows
opposed
running
to
around.
baby
They're just gonna
chickens.
wipe them off. They don't need
Oh,
them.
chickens are gross. Who cares?
You ever? I drove down to Virginia Beach a couple times, and if you go on the certain route, you go by all the chicken factories. Oh, does it smell?
Oh yeah, that's like
Oh,
the
it
5 in
stinks.
California. They got a slaughterhouse there on the 5 with cows.
The Slaughterhouse 5?
Slaughterhouse something.
No.
I read that.
All right.
Chicago, right?
That's it. We'll see you Thursday. Catch 22 tomorrow.
Yeah, big nerd fest.
10 o'clock.
tomorrow.
All right.
Combine.
All right.
Oh yeah. 40 times.
The South Park picture we just covered.
See you later.
Hey, this is Matisse. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure to follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else here that we do at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.